Hey there, Screen Pups. Welcome to another episode of Screen Pupcast. Still getting used to that name, but I like it. Today is a big episode. Big in multiple ways. Number one, size. You may notice that I'm calling this Part 1, simply because this episode is over 4 hours long, because this is our big Batman episode, and turns out a lot of people want to talk about Batman. That's the other important part. This is the first episode in which I've had more than one guest on through Skype. This was very impressive. You know, it takes a while for any project to really reach the point it should get to. You know, everything requires tinkering. Nothing is perfect as soon as you start it. And I feel like with each episode of this podcast that we've done, we've gotten a little bit closer. And for this Batman episode, I gathered together some great guests. We had great chemistry, worked together really well. And I think that we are now finally starting to get to a point in which this podcast is actually becoming a legitimate thing. A thing that I would be proud to show off to others. In fact, hey, you guys should show it off to others too. Every time I put up an episode, feel free to tweet and send people over here. We'd enjoy that. But I just want to thank all my guests who came on today. I'm going to keep this short because the rest of the episode's long. This is part one, in which we are going to talk about the news, our trailer talk. Then we're each going to give our little review of Dark Knight Rises. And then we're going to give our little spoiler sport discussion about The Dark Knight Rises, in which we just talk about it, you know, get more in-depth into our opinions of it without caring about spoiling it. And then this should be coming up in a few days later. Part 2 will be coming up. And in that part, we're going to have our new guest give their little review of the movie. Our new guests are going to be Jack Anderson on that episode, and my normal co-host Michelle will be joining us on part 2. But after they give their review, we're also going to talk about just Batman in entertainment in general, like what were our favorite interpretations of him in film, what we thought of the animated series. And then after that, we're going to do over 100 new entries into the Screen Pup's favorite movie list. So make sure to watch out for that part when it drops. But for now, enjoy this, the first part of the podcast, which features me, as usual, Rockin' Kimosabe, Rim25, Tylea002, and Dustin Fun 1704. Hope you enjoy. Trust me, this is a good one.
You and your friends better batten down the hatches. Because when it hits, you're all gonna wonder how you ever thought you could live so large and leave so little for the rest of us.
What does that mean?
Rise.
This is slowly turning into Sesame Street. Alright.
Thunderbirds are go.
Alright.
Eight podcasts.
You know what, fuck it, let's just start. I have no intro plan for this. Let's just start.
Nice.
I was gonna start by just going dun 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 Screen Pups. And I'm
Batman.
I'm Batman.
Yeah!
Where is she?
I really should start with the new Batman soundtrack, which is Bwah.
Why isn't there a dubstep version of that theme? There probably is.
Oh god, I don't want that.
I should really go ahead and introduce you guys. Alright, hi, I'm Aaron. Everybody knows me. Welcome to Screen Pupcast, episode 6, still not canceled. This is our big Dark Knight Rises episode we've all been waiting for, and this is also our biggest episode that we have ever done, because I have got 4 guests on the show today. Joining me, as usual, Rockin' Kimosabe, or as you know him, Kevin.
I'm Batman.
Then we've got, over from London, we've got Tylea002, Jackson.
I'm Spartacus. What?
Then we have Rim25, Mike.
Hey, that's me. What's going on?
And then we've got Dustin Fun 1704, Dustin.
What's going on, guys?
All right, that went off without a hitch. All right, how's everybody doing today?
Pretty good.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody here seen it? Before we get into our news, anybody seen any movies you want to talk about?
No.
No.
No
We
movies,
just talked about
but
we just talked about movies for like 25 minutes before we actually started recording. And now I got nothing to say.
I started watching season 1 of Game of Thrones.
Oh, how's that?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I just finished book 1 a couple weeks ago and borrowed the Blu-ray from my friends. I think episode 3 or 4 into it, so it's interesting. I don't know. Like, I feel kind of conflicted. Like, a lot of the characters, like, especially all the Stark family, how the actors they portrayed nothing like how I imagined them reading the books. Which I don't not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. It's pretty interesting.
Do you find it easier that you've read the book, that you can follow along with all the characters? Because when I was watching the first season for the very first time, I hadn't read the book, so I was kind of lost at certain points. Like, okay, where are they now? Who's this person? Who's that person? It just sort of felt overwhelming at some point.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I do feel it was a lot easier to follow along with the characters, and okay, now because they are skipping quite a lot, from the book, obviously, but it is definitely a lot easier to follow along than if I had not watched it.
Cool.
But
Anybody else seen it? Anybody else have anything to add?
I don't have HBO, so I'm trying to stay away as much as I can from season 2.
Okay, yeah. I watched the first episode, and I kind of felt the same way you did, which it was just so many characters all up at once, and I thought, I'll return to this, and so far I haven't, but...
Right. I think part of it is
I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind watching it either, but I think I refuse to watch it until after I read the book, because I want to read it first, because I've heard if you do read the book, it helps you understand the characters and all better. But I would like to read the book before I watch it. My friends love it, and they're all addicted to it.
That's how I am with Hunger Games. I keep wanting to watch the movie, but everybody keeps telling me it's in like 10 times more enjoyable if you've actually read the book. So
It really is.
I don't know. I watched the movie and then read the book afterwards, and yeah, there's some little nuances that you get from the book, but I think the movie's still enjoyable on its own.
Okay, cool. Well,
You could just watch Battle Royale. Though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You don't need
That's
to watch
amazing
Hunger
movie.
Games. Battle Royale is
I
fantastic.
bought Battle Royale before it was available in North America, so I have a UK version of the DVD, and it doesn't work in any of my DVD players, so I can only watch it on my computer.
Sad.
that is a real
I know.
fan right there.
Wow.
That
Yeah, I am.
I'm glad you're so committed to watching Japanese
Oh, I really
children
wanted to see
kill
the
each other.
movie. Yeah, and then I watched I didn't bother buying the second movie. I only watched it on YouTube. And
I haven't
I'm glad
seen
I did
it.
not pay money for it.
Yeah,
Is it-
I've heard.
Is it
awful.
any good?
It's
I've heard it's
awful.
atrocious. Yeah.
It's awful. It's awful.
All right.
Okay.
Speaking of awful, I saw.
It's awful. Just take my word for it.
Speaking of awful, I saw the third Transformers movie.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, it's bad, but Revenge of the Fallen was way worse.
I was about to say it
Revenge
is
of the
not.
Fallen.
That's the thing is I cannot give that like a super low rating simply because I think Revenge of the Fallen just broke me because there's so much shit going on in that third movie in which I was like, oh, it's now nighttime when it was suddenly day, now it's back to daytime. Of course it is. Just because Revenge of the Fallen just broke me on those things. I was like, why am I going to argue with this shit?
To be honest, that happened in Batman as well. So
There is a moment in the Batman movie in which I noticed that. I'm glad I'm not the only one who noticed that part.
absolutely ridiculous. There's like
Yeah.
45 minutes in a time. There's a time span thing, and then suddenly it's daytime and nighttime. It goes within an entire day in basically what is meant to be in story 45 minutes. It's insane.
Longest chase ever.
It's that.
It was
How
longer
long
than
was
the OJ chase.
How long was that fucking tunnel? Because he goes into that thing in the middle of the day and comes out in pitch blackness.
Well, it's Pittsburgh, so it goes on forever.
Should we just do this now? Should we just get into Batman?
Let's do our little news parts, and then we'll get into Batman. Because sometimes once we get into Batman, we're not going to end talking about Batman. So, first up on our news stories is just Comic-Con happened. We each focused on a different part of the stories that came out of Comic-Con. Anybody have anything that they specifically want to talk about? Any news story that came out of Comic-Con that really hit them hard or was of interest to them?
No one got stabbed in the eye.
No, but there was that Twilight girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I hate the Twilight movies, but as a geek, my heart has to go out to anybody who looks forward to something so much, and
Yeah.
What
So-
happened? I hold on. What? The Twilight girl?
There was a actually it's not a girl. It was a 53-year-old woman that was standing in line for a Twilight meet conference like 3 days in advance, and she got hit by a car just crossing the street to get back to her place in line. And you know, like I said, Twilight is a horrible movie series and a terrible book series too. But you know, we're geeks. Anytime that you see somebody, especially at 53, with that kind of a passion and dedication to something like that, it makes you feel sad when you realize, oh, they're never going to get to see it now. It's, you know, this has been a horrible week for news stories about people who...
Yeah.
Let's...
Terrible.
Any good stories coming out of Comic-Con anybody wants to talk about?
There was the big Firefly final they had. That's online, too, now. You can watch the entire thing.
Oh, really?
And it's sad. It's very, very reminiscent.
Depressing.
And, yeah, everyone seemed sad that the show never lasted. And at the very end, somebody asked what Joss Whedon had thought about like what had happened with the series, and he seemed like at a loss for words for several minutes there, and then he just started to cry. So it was very sad, but you know, there were some funny moments in there.
Yeah. Well, is it sad because
I don't think it was as funny as everyone was expecting it to be. It was more melancholy by the end of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And Summer Glau barely talked, which was quite disappointing. Yeah, and then there was all the legendary panels in Warner Brothers. So they had Man of Steel, had Pacific Rim, Guillermo del Toro's big giant robots versus monsters movie, and then there was the big surprise, which was I think his name's Gareth Edwards, the guy who did the monsters movie. So he came out and debuted first footage of Godzilla. I'm not sure if it's like official, but it could just be like proof of concept kind of stuff.
You want to see that monsters movie?
No.
Yeah, I did.
What do you think?
It looks beautiful for a movie that supposedly cost $500,000 to make, but the actors didn't have a script; they just improvised, so their interactions are kind of wooden and stilted throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I went kind of back and forth on the entire film. It's like, yeah, it's got great locations, great cinematography, and you know, I trust the director a lot. But yeah, the actors were just kind of wooden. Like, I didn't really buy the two of them coming together.
Yeah, I it's one of those situations where I saw another movie that was in that same vein, the Like Crazy movie. That was a romantic drama, but that worked because it seemed more honest between the two characters. But this just felt like they didn't have any sort of... Like, they had a small little structure for what scenes should be, but I don't think they understood the characters well enough to really give any sort of performance that was more endearing.
Well, I have it on good authority that the Godzilla will have a script, so that should...
Oh, probably.
Unlike the last one.
That's a lot of fish.
Oh, come on. Jean Reno is brilliant in that movie.
Jean Reno is good in that. He's the one
Yeah.
salvageable thing about that film.
You could have watched Godzilla instead of watching Transformers 3. You've made a horrible mistake.
I've already seen Godzilla. There's no point in me retreading bad movies I've already seen. I have to dig deeper
There's
into
no
the bad
point in
movies.
you watching Transformers 3.
Don't y'all
Yeah,
mean
let me
Gojira?
explain to everybody. I watched Transformers 3 because my roommate and I have a tradition called Bad Movie Tuesday, where we try and find just horrible films to watch on Tuesday for no real reason that we chose that date. But yeah, and Transformers 3 is now on Netflix Instant Queue, so I decided, what the hell, and holy shit is that terrible. But yeah, once again, it's not Revenge of the Fallen, and that's the best compliment I can give it.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
it's not Beast Wars, so I don't care.
Don't put that out there into the atmosphere. Do not... There's a moment where you see an elephant walking around in the new Transformers movie. I was like, don't you do it, Michael Bay. Don't you do it.
They should do Beast Wars.
They should do Beast Wars.
I love Beast Wars when I was a kid, but yeah. I want to see a good Transformers movie before I'm willing to give faith for them to wreck something that I actually did enjoy as a child.
They really should make a good Transformers. It's not hard to make a good Transformers movie. Like, it's fucking robots killing each other. That is pretty simple to make good.
Exactly.
You have to try
Real Steel
harder
is the better
to make
Transformers
it-
movie.
What?
What'd you say?
And that movie's okay. So,
What'd you say?
I can.
Real Steel is the better Transformers movie than
Oh.
the actual Transformers movie. And that's not saying much because Real Steel is just okay.
I was about to say, yeah, that's kind of damning with false praise there.
That was the whole Real Steel thing was depressing because everyone was like, it's not terrible, and I'm like, that shouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah, it's one of those things in which if it's just an okay film, and you get to a point in your movie watching career in which you just kind of go, a movie that's not terrible is almost worse than one that is terrible, because if it's terrible, you can at least rant and rave about it. But if it's just okay, then it's like, all right, the end. It is what it is. But speaking of Comic-Con news, I'm a big comic book geek, so the big movie news that came out for me was that the next Captain America movie is going to be The Winter Soldier, and as on behalf of everyone who does read Marvel comics, let me just say, fuck yes, that's going to be great. I'm not going to...
I'm on board if they get Anthony Mackie, because that dude's talented.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because, he's the guy they're looking into playing the Falcon, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Which I'd love for them to introduce that character. But, yeah, I'm not going to say what the Winter Soldier is, because that would totally spoil the film. But, yeah, I have high hopes for it. But, yeah, any other news stories that out of Comic-Con that you guys were interested in?
Thor 2 had a title announcement, The Dark World.
Which means nothing to me. I've got no clue on what that could mean, but...
Mads Mikkelsen, who was the villain apparently for that movie, is not the villain anymore.
Yeah. The Ant-Man film is confirmed, which normally wouldn't mean anything to anyone, but it's by Simon Pegg. So, I mean, not Simon Pegg. Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright.
The Ant-Man film's been happening for ages. It's just
they have, but it's now finally happening. Yeah, it's been in talks for the longest time. So yeah, that is the good news coming out of that. That's actually going to finally happen.
There was the pretty brilliantly fake Star Trek 2 footage they showed.
Oh, I hadn't heard
about that.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Carl Urban showed up at the Dread 3D panel. He was saying, "Oh yeah, I got Star Trek 2 footage," and there was no Star Trek 2 footage. It was just footage of him surfing. And then well, actually, that's not entirely true. There was Star Trek 2 footage at the very end, but it was just footage of J.J. Abrams holding some weird contraption. But yeah, it was pretty funny.
Cool.
Just him surfing for a couple minutes. But also, I guess the Dread movie was actually pretty well received. But then again, it'll probably run into the same thing Scott Pilgrim had, where had a good reception at Comic-Con, but didn't really make an impact with any sort of mainstream audience.
Yeah. Not to mention the sad thing about the Dread movie is that they had been working on that thing for years, and that while they were working on it, The Raid came out, which basically had the exact same plot. And because it doesn't involve special effects, they got it done in like 5 months. So now this movie that was working on that concept before The Raid, now everyone's going to look at it and go, oh, they were just copying The Raid.
Yeah, The Raid's pretty good, too.
The Raid is a fun movie. That's one of those ones that you watch it with a group of people and everybody just sits around going, ooh!
Yeah, I couldn't do the... I mean, I like the first half an hour when nothing happens. That was way better than when they started killing everybody. Because it was super tense and you're like, oh shit, something's about to go real bad. And then the last half an hour is just people punching each other and arms breaking. And I'm like, I don't want to watch any more arms break. It's not very nice.
I'm actually going to go rent The Raid tomorrow, because once I take Super back, because I just watched that movie earlier in the week, I'm going to go rent Raid, because I've been wanting to see that movie too.
I do like Super.
Yeah, go see it.
Super was good. I enjoyed Super.
Cool. Let's see. Next story, the Emmy nominations came out. Anybody have any thoughts on the Emmy nominations?
No.
Not really.
Walking Dead got nominated, yay.
They're doing it wrong.
To me, this year cemented for me that the Emmys is now just the award show for old people, which I always used to say the Oscars were, but holy shit, this is absolutely the year in which, if Community didn't get a single nomination with the amazing...
It got one.
It got one?
It got a writing nomination for which episode was it? It was the Remedial Chaos Theory episode, which is brilliant.
Oh, that is a fantastic episode.
Yeah, that was the only nomination it got, was for writing.
Yeah. So. And let me just say, I do not hate Modern Family. I actually like Modern Family. I think it is an insanely well-acted show. I think it's upbeat and fun. But goddamn, it is not that freaking good that it deserves to get that many nominations every single year. It drives me nuts to see that thing get that many nominations every year.
They're basically nominating the entire cast for that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I remember reading an interview sometime saying where none of them wanted to give like best actor or actress, like because they all felt like, oh, we're all supporting each other together, so maybe, I guess that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, that is the thing, is that there really is no main character on that show. It's all equal, which is one of the things that I like, that a lot of shows attempt that, but they don't really get that balance right, and I think that show does. And like I said, the acting is the best thing on that show, because when you just look at the writing, it's very basic sitcom-y kind of writing, but the actors are able to sell it better than any actor I've seen with that same material. So the actors definitely are who deserves the awards in that. But once again, it's not so good that it should just not dominate the category every single year, to me.
Well, they're also just becoming basically the 30 Rock again.
Yeah.
Because 30 Rock had the dynasty of getting all the nominations and winning all the awards, and that's basically what's happening now with Modern Family.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole travesty of how they snuck all those nominations in for American Horror Story.
Oh yeah, like they put in as a miniseries.
Yeah, miniseries or movie, which no.
Which yeah, that to me another thing that kind of proves that the Emmys is now just for old people, because American Horror Story, it's an ongoing series, but every single season is a different story. But old people can't wrap their heads around that, so they're like, "Oh, so it's self-contained, so it's a miniseries?" No, it's an ongoing series, just with different characters. And why are you telling me to get off your lawn?
So that's
If
why
that
The Wire
show-
got snubbed.
Oh, yeah.
If American Horror Story beats Sherlock, I'm gonna throw my TV out the window.
Holy
Ooh,
jeez, that Sherlock is so good. Oh,
Yeah.
And I don't like American Horror Story. I gave it a chance. I could not get into it.
yeah, that's the thing, is I've heard a lot of people say that they couldn't get into it, and the people who have been able to get into it, they said, no, I got into it because it is just absolutely crazy, but that's not going to appeal to everyone, so,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's see,
And now Downton Abbey got upgraded to regular series and basically got all the nominations too.
Well, that is a very good show. I mean, I'm not like into that stuff a
Especially-
lot, but I mean, I started watching it with my wife on Netflix, and it's actually really good. I mean, the characters are really well done, and the setting is pretty interesting. That's not something you generally see a lot on television, so I'm glad. That
I'm just
actually-
disappointed they didn't nominate the Jimmy Fallon Downton Abbey spoof.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. No, Downton Abbey is amazing, especially if you're an old white person. So,
Yeah, the Emmys basically nominate every single middle class to upper class show. Like, Shameless got shut up because, borderline poverty house, and Two Broke Girls didn't get nominated because they're broke. So, like, every
Wait.
single show, all the families or characters come from some wealthy background.
well, that seems to be because that's how all sitcoms were up until a point, up until really like the 70s, when you started getting things like, Good Times and such. But even then, it was still mostly just white people in middle class or upper class. Like, you very rarely see money problems on most sitcoms. And it seems to me that, yeah, this is just, like I said, the Emmys are now just kind of for old people, because that's the kind of shows they like, because that's what they grew up with.
Yeah, and it's just not even the comedies, it's also drama shows as well. Like Downton Abbey and Boardwalk Empire, and what else got nominated?
I have no idea.
Mad Men?
I'm assuming
Mad
Mad
Men.
Men or Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad got.
It's like, yeah, that's the thing, is that I don't even remember it, but I can just throw out all the shows that have been nominated in the past, and you're going to probably get it right.
Did Sons of
Hey,
Anarchy
guys,
get nominated?
guys. Less Emmys, more Batman.
I was about to say, all right, yeah, last news story, and this one actually is Batman related. Rotten Tomatoes had to shut down its commenting section because of just the outrage from fans over the negative reviews of Dark Knight Rises. Any thoughts from you guys on this?
It's worth
stupid.
noting that this happened before the film was actually released.
That,
so, what? Fucking the internet.
Yeah, it's just
Fucking
the general
internet,
internet
yes.
mob entertainment.
Yep.
Mob mentality.
That's the thing, is that when the Avengers came out, and I knew I'd find a way of sneaking into this episode, 6 episodes in running. When that came out, they did the marathon with all the movies back to back, and I went and I saw that, and it was lots of fun. And when Dark Knight Rises came out, they were going to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, because I did that.
Yeah, and they asked me, and a friend of mine asked me, "Do you want to go and do that one too?" And I was like, I don't really want to know if I want to sit in a room with that many dedicated fans for that long with the Christopher Nolan Batman films, because as you saw with the Rotten Tomato things, yeah, there's a lot of people who just enjoy it for the art and just enjoy it for the cinema because it is that good of a franchise. But then there are also the people who, the moment that a bad review comes out of it for a film they haven't even seen, they just start lobbing death threats out there. And I'm kind of glad that this actually happened, because I didn't see that much outrage after this happened, because I think that as soon as 500 comments went at one person with death threats just because they gave a negative review to a film they hadn't even seen, everybody just kind of stopped and looked at themselves and went, "What the hell are we doing? This is nuts." So,
or they saw the film and realised the irony with the themes of the film and were like, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it also everything got overshadowed.
Yeah,
by the
obviously.
shooting. So
yeah, which is just a horrific story. Although I do have to say one thing. I live in New York, and Bloomberg came out and he said, "All right, because of this, we're going to step up security. We're going to have cops at theaters. We're going to make sure that everybody's bag is checked." I went to see Dark Knight Rises. I swear to God, this is a true story, exactly as I tell it. I went in to see it. There was very few seats left, so I had to get one very far over at the edge. And I stood up to try and look around to see if there were any other seats. And I swear to you this is true. The guy sitting in front of me in the theater had a samurai sword with him.
What?
Had an actual, factual katana. And at that point, I just grabbed my friend and went, let's get the next showing. I bet there's seats in that one. And luckily nothing happened. Nothing, he didn't go nuts or anything. But that's the thing, is that you're not even allowed to bring a samurai sword into the theater when there isn't a suspected murder spree happening.
But I assume that was his logic. It was, well, if there are people who are going to do murders, I clearly need to have a samurai sword on me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go katana on their ass, motherfucker. If they come in here with smoke cans, I'm gonna be prepared.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that just drove me nuts looking at that, because I mean, granted, the bottom half of it was wrapped up in paper, but you could still see the hilt and the handle sticking out of there. There's no question of what it was. And I just looked at that and was like, even how mad does the security officer at this theater have to be at his manager to just go, you know what, fuck it, going in, I don't care, I'm not paid for this.
It might be their friend, and they found it hilarious.
Oh yeah, exactly. It could have been like when you get on a flight, there's always that one TSA agent who actually did have a gun on the plane. It could be that's the one guy in the theater who, in case shit goes down, he's placed there.
Don't worry, guys, I've got a samurai sword.
So yeah, I did not see it in that theater. I went to the next showing, but yeah, luckily everything worked out. But so yeah, let's get into the actual. Let's start actually talking about the movie by talking about the trailer that came on before. This is our trailer talk session. Man of Steel was shown. The teaser trailer was finally shown for Man of Steel before the movie came on. Thoughts from you guys? Because this has been one that a lot of people have been very iffy on.
I thought it was good.
It looks good, but I'm so confused because I'm watching that going, this does not look anything at all like Zack Snyder. This almost looks like, it looks like, who's the guy who did Tree of Life?
Terrence Malick?
Yeah, it almost looks like if Terrence Malick did a Superman film.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm interested. Like, you can't really tell a whole lot from it, but it almost looks to me like, instead of Superman growing up as a farmer out in Kansas, it almost looks like he's some kind of a
like a fisherman.
Like a fisherman, yeah, exactly. Which, hey, as long as they still keep the theme, like all the important lessons that came from him and growing up, and I don't really care if they change it from him being a farmer, but yeah, I can't really.
Well, I imagine that that whole journey of him being a farmer, farmer to fisherman, and then wandering the wilds. I bet that's how he finds the Fortress of Solitude.
Ooh, that's not bad.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah. I'm still nervous about the thing simply because they've said, oh, this Superman is, he's going to be far more serious, and it's going to be we're going to see, like, the anger behind Superman, and we're going to see, the darker side of Superman. I just thought, have you ever... do you know who Superman is? Like, I know so many people who have been going, don't worry, we shouldn't worry about Zack Snyder because Christopher Nolan is producing this, and I think, hey, Christopher Nolan understands Batman, but Batman and Superman are almost literally night and day.
That's the whole point of Batman and Superman. They are completely different, and if Chris Nolan has got his Batman cap on, he's going to make a terrible Superman movie.
I know, if Superman acted the way Batman did, the entire country would elect Lex Luthor president and would make sure that tanks are loaded with kryptonite. Yeah, trust me, you do not want Superman to be a badass. You want him to be, truth, justice, and the American way. You want him to be rescuing cats out of trees. Because otherwise you remember, oh right, this is an alien who could destroy us all.
I do have that happen. He's like, you guys do realize I could kill you all in 2 seconds if he gets pissed off. He does have a pretty good rebuttal.
Yeah, exactly. There was a Superman story back in, I think it was the late 90s, in which they basically kind of realized all comic book characters were getting so much darker and more serious, and were now killing people and all this, and basically they introduced this new team that was becoming popular because they actually killed off the bad guys, and they basically went up to Superman and said, listen man, you're old, you're not important anymore, nobody wants you anymore, and then he basically said, alright, you want to see what I look like when I do act like a badass like you? And he just beats the crap out of them and lobotomizes them and takes away their powers and goes, that's what happens when I act like you. You don't want that from me. And yeah, you don't want Superman to be like that. And
that's the point. When Superman flips out, that should be a rare occasion, and you should go, oh my god, Superman is flipping the fuck out, this is terrible. Not the entire film.
Yes, exactly. It should be that one moment when he really, when Lois gets in danger and he decides, okay, now's the time to turn off the safety measures and go all out. It should not be... I don't want him to get kittens out of trees by burning the tree to the ground. That's what I'm saying. But yeah,
man, I'll catch your cat.
Anybody else have any thoughts on it?
I told you so little. I could have probably cut a trailer that amazing for Sucker Punch. So, what happened? It was a trailer.
Yeah,
Superman.
Which, by the way, never forget, this guy is also the guy who did Sucker Punch. Let no good-looking trailer make you forget that. But yeah, let's go into the actual reason that we're here today, which is to talk about the Batman Dark Knight Rises. We're going to do this in two different segments, just like we did with the Prometheus review. We're going to give our spoiler-free review of the movie, and then we're going to do our spoiler sport session, where we just talk about the film and we don't care about spoilers or anything like that. So, I will, as always, I timestamp this below. Make sure to check so you know what part to avoid if you don't want to hear any spoilers. But I'm just going to start off right now. Who wants to go first? Who wants to kind of give their thoughts on it?
How about you?
Me?
Yeah, we're all jumping at the boat here.
Yeah. Something tells me we all have mixed feelings on this because because if everybody felt very passionate about it, everyone would be stepping up. But instead, everyone's like, I don't want to be the first guy to get shot down. I don't want to be the first one to get off the boat.
I want to wait for everyone else to go, and then be like, no, guys, here's where you are wrong.
Yes.
Right.
All right, I will say this. I felt that this was a really, really, really good movie, but it just didn't quite hit great for me. I felt that the very end, the last act of the movie is great. I give that a solid A. But Act 1 and Act 2, I just kind of gave a B. And when you even that all out, I just give it a B+. There's a lot of things, especially with editing in this, that I have a problem with, because it felt like they were trying to fit so much in here, which is fine. I want a big meal for my last Batman film, but it didn't really all merge for me that well. It didn't all flow. I will say I found the acting incredibly well in this, especially with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I gotta admit, I was far more interested in his character than I was in Batman at this point. I really just kept wanting to see them go back to him. In fact,
JGL bringing it.
Yeah. In fact, in all honesty, I'm probably going to be alone in this, but in all honesty, Christian Bale to me was the weakest actor in all this. But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not saying he's bad.
Yeah.
That's not saying he's bad. It was just saying I was far more interested in every single other person in this movie.
Michael Caine, I had no idea, was easily the best thing in this film for me. It's not really him, it was more like the scenes he was in.
Oh, the scenes he was in, yeah.
When he showed up, they were like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay attention at those.
Yeah, and he disappears for like the last maybe hour and a half of the movie, and I was
At least.
I really wanted to see at least one scene with him coming back in there.
Okay, I'll talk about that in the spoiler stuff, but I have feelings on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But yeah, how did everybody feel about Anne Hathaway's Catwoman?
good, pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. A lot better than I thought.
Yeah, you guys are going to be able to say whatever you want, because I'm about to say something that will get all the hate mail directed directly at me. Everybody has that one actor or actress who, for some reason, just doesn't jive with them. Just for some reason, they just never really could get behind. And for some reason, Anne Hathaway is that person to me. Like, I don't know why, but I just never really bought her in really any movie she'd done. But in this one, I thought she was good. I've totally bought into her character.
She did a good job. I don't think she needed to be in the movie. Like, Catwoman there were so many plot threads, and I think Catwoman just didn't relate to the whole main plot that much. But she actually, as an actor, and her role was good. But the movie was about 5 hours long, and it didn't need all the Catwoman stuff. I wasn't into that.
Yeah, the Catwoman thing, like I said, I really liked Catwoman when she was in it, but towards the end, Bruce Wayne, we've seen this in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but Bruce Wayne goes to her and says, hey, listen, I need your help. I need you, I'm counting on you. I need your help to help take down Bane. And all I could think was, you've only met her 3 times. First time she stole from you, and the third time she led you into a trap. Why are you trusting her?
Yeah.
When Bruce Wayne decides that there's probably more to a criminal, she has to be hot.
Yes. I was about to say, if Joker had Harley Quinn, he would be coming up to her after this, at this moment, to try and convince her, but...
I think there's more to you.
And I'd like to see...
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Nudge, nudge. What did everybody feel about the, there's the plot thread of basically Bane is trying to give back Gotham to the people, as he says, which basically means all the people go nuts and beat up the rich people. What did everyone feel about that?
It seemed kind of like a retread with the Dark Knight a little bit with the Joker, just maybe on a little grander scale. I don't know, that's kind of how I took it.
I could see that, and that was kind of my problem with it, is that, it kind of reminded me of the other ones, except that with the Joker, there was madness going on throughout the city, being caused by the Joker. With Bane, they started the movie off by saying that for the past 8 years, things have been really good in the city. Things have actually been going pretty fine in the city. And then the moment that Bane shows up and just says, I'm giving the city back to the people, everyone loses their mind. And I didn't really buy that would happen. We get the speech from Catwoman where she says, we're going to, a storm is brewing, people are getting upset, but we never actually see, just the everyday Joe on the street in Gotham City.
But it really wasn't the everyday Joe, it was all the criminals.
Yeah, but it kind of spread very quickly to, I feel like, some other people. You see those scenes where there are people, you see the doorman at this big fancy building just dragging a woman in a fur coat out and throwing her out into the street. And it felt to me like they were trying to say that the people have just kind of been waiting for a moment to bring down, to tear down the walls of society. And I didn't really buy into that.
I think it was Nolan letting his themes overtake the plot. He wanted the thematic, big people, anarchy versus capitalism battle, but when you actually break it down on a plot level rather than a thematic level, it just doesn't make any sense. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And he skims over it so quickly, because there's about... This only happens about 2 hours into the movie. And there's 2 hours before this of build-up, and it is not enough time to properly explain, yo, why the hell is... Scarecrow? Who would have let Scarecrow? What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, and... Yeah, I agree with you. It does seem like he really wanted something there, but it feels to me almost like... And this is one of those things in which a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, you're just describing the movie you wanted. But to me, it really just feels like if they hadn't have had Two-Face in the last one, And, you know, Harvey Dent had been this guy who had been the protector of Gotham, and then you had Two-Face in this one. And, you know, this guy who had been the protector of Gotham suddenly starts tearing it down. I would have bought into it a lot more, rather than this external force coming into the city, and then, you know, him being the one to tear it all down. Nothing against Bane, though. I did like Bane, but I did like Tom Hardy as Bane, but just he wasn't quite as memorable to me as either, especially not the Joker, but even Scarecrow or Ra's al Ghul from the first one. He just wasn't quite as memorable.
Yeah, he just existed to be evil and do evil shit and be extremely large. So
yeah, and I remember when the first teaser trailer came out, and you just see that moment of the first teaser trailer to me was the best of the trailers because you just see that one scene of Batman and he's just wobbling back and forth and he's clearly feeling beaten down and tired, and then you just see that giant back just eclipse the entire screen. And the moment I saw that, I went, "Oh, Bane is going to be a major threat." I never really got that sense. Like, even when he's beating the crap out of Batman, I just thought, yeah, Bane hits really hard.
yeah, at the beginning.
I think I've been criticizing this too much. I can feel like
Yeah,
the tension
definitely.
building up against me. There's, like I said, I really did like this movie.
It's a great movie, but no, it's a good movie made by a great filmmaker, but it feels like that guy is running on autopilot. He can make a brilliant movie in his sleep, and there's nothing that really makes Dark Knight Rises stand out or become special in any way. You don't think, oh my god, that was the greatest film ever. You just think, Christopher Nolan has made a film.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, to me, this it's not Christopher Nolan's weakest film, but it's one of his weaker, but still, one of Christopher Nolan's weaker films is still at worst a B+ to me.
Yeah, in a world where people can be happy with real steel, people should not be disappointed with The Dark Knight Rises.
What did everyone think of the voice that Bane was doing in there? Because there was some controversy going into that.
Because they dubbed that over, right? Because people couldn't understand him from the original trailers. It bothered me at first. I don't like it's like I could tell like, oh, this was obviously dubbed over by Tom Hardy post, but I don't know. I guess it ends up working in the end. I don't know. It didn't really bother me after a bit.
It bothered me for a while, and then eventually I just went, you know what, fuck it, just deal with it. And
Like it went from, like, in the prologue, like a very muffled sound to him speaking through a megaphone. Like, it was a huge, drastic change from when you first saw Bane's voice to the movie.
Yeah, it sounded like an external sound that was definitely added in later. I didn't buy it coming from within the film itself, but once again, Tom Hardy to me is one of my favorite actors out there working today, and I think they did do a great role. I just wanted to see a little bit more like anger from his Bane, because like there's moments where like when the little kid is singing the Star Spangled Banner, and you hear Bane go, "What a lovely, lovely voice." I went, that is a really creepy line. He did that great. But then there's like the moment when you see the sign that Batman is returning, and he goes, "What? How can this be?" And I was like, "Are you being sarcastic?" I don't.
Who turned out the lights?
It was a dramatic like twist for Bane because he was very menacing and like brutal and ruthless in the first part of the movie, and then when it gets to that point, I'm like, this isn't the you we have seen in like the first hour and a half of the movie.
Yeah,
it's completely different Bane.
I agree with you on that. Yeah,
I want to propose something, like because. Joker, they were trying to ape Joker a bit with the whole beginning and the whole like weird voice and weird face and everything. Imagine if like, because Bane's voice was a thing, but it didn't grab me in any way. It was just his voice. It wouldn't have made any difference if it was his real voice or anything. But imagine if Bane didn't speak at all and he was all physical, and they'd kind of worked the movie around that. What would that have gone down like?
So in other words, he was just kind of like a silent, like he was still smart, like he still had his henchmen, but like the henchmen were like speaking for him. And
like he was in charge, but it was all because that guy is massive, and we will do what he says, but he doesn't have to say a word. I think that could have worked way better.
I don't know. That's I could still see it working. I don't know if it would work better, but I could still see it working. Like I could definitely see that pulled off. Like there's that scene at the very beginning where he tells that one flunky of his that he has to stay on the plane. Like if he hadn't been speaking and instead he just gave the guy a look. And the guy just went, "I understand." And I think that still would have been really creepy. Yeah, so there's moments where I think that would have worked. Anything else? I think I've really talked about
there's not really much we can get into without spoilers.
Yeah, there is one other thing is one other thing that I did have a problem with, was that this takes place over a long period of time. Like, it almost seems like it takes place over a year almost, which is cool with me. Like I said, for the last Batman film, I want a meal. I want a big, long piece. But there's a moment where they go, "We've been trapped on the island for 3 months." I was like, "Really? It feels like a week and a half." Like the feeling of time passing didn't really work for me in this film.
We've been trapped. That's kind of a spoiler. I don't know.
A little bit, yeah. You know what? That was a little bit of a spoiler.
No, I was about to say something, but I stopped myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. James Gordon. I mean, God, was it Gary Oldman? That was also a very good part. He kind of had his own redemption, I guess, kind of like how.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Bruce
That's a very good
needed
point.
it in The Dark Knight. So I don't know. That was pretty interesting to see. And then him with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, their chemistry together. Those scenes are pretty good to watch.
Yeah, that and Gary Oldman to me has always been one of the best parts of this series, because Commissioner Gordon is a fantastic character and he really sells it. And yeah, like you said, I like that, the classic story structure is rise, fall, redemption, and I like that Commissioner Gordon has also kind of had that throughout this series.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else that you guys want to talk about before we get into the actual spoiler? Because, like you said, it is hard to talk about this movie so in depth without actually spoiling anything.
I've been quiet.
You have been quiet.
Speak.
Okay. I really like this movie. I really, really like it. I think it's one of the best films I've seen all summer long. I can't really compare it to The Avengers, which is probably what's going to end up happening probably over this weekend.
I'm going to do it.
I can.
Yeah,
I can.
but
it wasn't as good.
They're two different films. Avengers, I love it because it's supremely entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Knight, I feel, is a better thematic story. In a way, it's more literature inspired, and I think I like it more as a pure movie that can be more than the sum of its parts. The Avengers is just pure entertainment for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of where movies sort of are at right now. You have all the Oscar movies that are deep and profound and thought-worthy, and then you have all the fun summer movies that are really funny, and then there's really great action in them. And I think The Dark Knight Rises is a good mix of both. And I think what I like about this, and what I like about the whole entire franchise, is that it feels like one continuous arc. It's not another, here's another adventure of. It feels like one complete story of Bruce Wayne and Batman. And I think that's one of the things that resonates most to me. And also, I think The Dark Knight Rises feels more like a sequel to Batman Begins than to The Dark Knight.
I can agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely Die Hard 3 syndrome of, all the stuff from Die Hard 1 that we completely ignored in 2 is suddenly coming back.
Yeah, and just how you were saying before, the whole uprising of Gotham is sort of inspired by what the Joker did. And I don't think that worked as well in this film, but that felt like elements that were taken from The Dark Knight, but the stuff with the MacGuffin that we'll end up talking about later felt more in line with Batman Begins, and then the people involved in The Dark Knight Rises, which is sort of a spoiler, is also connected to Batman Begins.
Oh shit, I didn't even think about how the MacGuffin in this one is so closely similar to the one Batman Begins until right now. You're right.
Yeah, and I think that's the MacGuffin in this film is it's one of the plot lines I think is too much.
That makes exact sense, but okay, I'll save that, but that does make perfect sense.
I love the tone of this movie. The deep despair, kind of dark tone to it. I really like that, and that's what I like about Nolan's Batman movies, is that they do that more, and it never delved into the campy sort of feeling that the Joel Schumacher movies gave. And I think none of us have talked about this yet, but the action in this movie is incredible, especially in IMAX.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I saw it in
IMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they fill up that entire screen, it's mind-blowing how like sharp those images look and how detailed it is, and then just how tall it is. You just get this much grander operatic scope to the movie that you don't really get from any other movie.
That's one thing that
really.
that the Dark Knight series has really done well for me, is that all those little gadgets and like the bat, the new plane in this one, or like his tank and all that, they all seem real to me. They do not look like CGI up there on the screen. Like it actually felt like there was a big flying, mechanical machine up above these crowds in these scenes.
I wouldn't have put it past them. They actually built it. That's how insane Christopher Nolan is. He will do that.
And it's his dedication to practicality. If you can shoot it in the camera, shoot it in the camera. And I think all the sequences that are at the very end, that long stretch of all those action, it's just so grounded in this reality that he's set up that you accept it. You don't really notice, oh, that's CG. It's so like a close approximation to one another that you just kind of get lost into it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what Nolan does so well with these Batman movies, and did so well with Inception, is that his acceptance into doing practicality kind of trumps all the CG action that you see, like in Transformers. Like, I think no matter what, the stuff in Transformers, the whole rest of the movie is kind of rubbish, but when there's two giant robots fighting each other, it's still pretty cool. But I think with what Nolan does in reality and not on a computer is much more exciting.
I can absolutely agree with you. It always shocks me that people to this day still prefer computer effects over practical effects, when actually, the fans out there, the audience members, tend to prefer the practical ones, and it's cheaper.
People don't remember Optimus Prime beating up a robot like a human would beat up a human if it's made by a computer. People will remember Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the crazy revolving chamber in Inception. That's what they remember, and did that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the better. That is one of the better fight scenes I've seen from any movie in a long time.
And I feel like it's at this point where Dark Knight Rises was never going to be better than The Dark Knight. Like, I sort of adjusted my expectations a little bit because of that. I was like, you know what? I'm really excited for this movie. I really want to see it. However, I don't think it's going to be better than The Dark Knight, and I have to temper my expectations a little bit, or I'm just simply not going to like this movie.
Yeah.
And because I did that, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie because of that.
Right. I had that moment this week when I was watching The Dark Knight. I was like, The Dark Knight is such an excellent movie. Like, you forget when you go away, you remember all its flaws, but while you're watching it, it is phenomenal how good it is. Even for Christopher Nolan, The Dark Knight is fucking fantastic, and most of it is down to Heath Ledger, of course, who is not here.
And I sort of learned a lesson from what was the movie? What was the last Indiana Jones movie? It was
Crystal
Skull.
Crystal Skull,
yes.
yeah.
Kingdom of the Cash.
When I was seeing that movie and like all the trailers when I was leading up to it, I was like, this movie's going to be incredible. I love Indiana Jones, and there's no way this movie can be bad.
CGI monkeys!
I was wrong. That movie was bad, and it was like at the very beginning when they nuked the fridge, I was like, what's going on? It was like this internal moment of panic inside of me. I was like, I can never allow myself to do that ever again. And because I've learned that lesson, I can enjoy movies way more.
It's not even like they do that at the end. That is the first thing you see.
Yeah, it was almost like they just wanted to go, oh, Indiana Jones is back, and we're going to show you what we can do now. No, man.
Actually,
no.
I think it's when they started playing Elvis Presley at the beginning. It's like, what's going on here? Oh, Steven, what do you have up your sleeve? And it's like, oh, CGI gophers. Okay.
It's a great band name, CGI Gophers.
We're CGI gophers, and we're gonna play not a real gopher. The number one hits.
This is off of our first album, Nuke the Fridge, and
our first and only album.
Hey, I'm Mason. I play bass for CGI Gopher.
There's a hipster band in the village right now that just perked their heads up like, I got an idea.
Like a gopher.
Felt it in my
like
spine.
a gopher, yes.
Okay, that's too good.
Alright, let me just say one more thing. I've talked so much stuff about this stuff that I didn't really enjoy about. Let me just say, Christopher Nolan, he knows how to do tension. And that last act is nothing but, like, you get that sense of the tension rising in there.
Absolutely.
I absolutely, yeah. Like, I gotta at least point out some good things. Because most of the stuff I'm going to talk about that I really like is going to be during the spoiler stuff. But yeah, so before that, I don't want anybody, thinking, oh, you went into this with your own weird expectations, or you're just hating because you didn't want this to be as good as the Avengers or something. I don't know. Let me just say, that's something that I love during that last act. That last act to me is great because I felt that tension going. I felt all those elements coming together.
I agree. Like, I think Christopher, better than the actual payoff is that when stuff isn't happening, the tension when you're like something has to happen, oh my god, and the way he builds it up is second to none. It's incredible. Even in here, when we were like nitpicking at all this stuff, that is still brilliant, and you should still see it.
Yeah,
right.
All right. So
it's so much easier to be critical because you can like bring it down to one little small, minute detail. But when you're praising a movie, it's just like, oh yeah, it's your very general praise.
It's good.
Like we're talking about all the action's incredible. We're not like stating, okay, this specific scene was incredible. It's just kind of like, yeah, the whole action was pretty great.
Well, I think we can say scenes that are incredible, but not yet.
Yeah. Let's start getting into that. Before we go, what is does everybody just want to give their either star rating or letter rating, whichever you feel more comfortable with?
G for Gopher.
But yeah, anybody want to just give their rating just for the people who aren't going to listen to the spoiler part, just something to send them off with?
I'll just stick with what the site has. I'll just do stars, and I'd give it 4.5. Breaking out of, I only usually do full stars, but I couldn't really give it a full 5, I guess.
Yeah, I'd go with the 4. I mean, it was a slow burn. The third act was pretty great. And, well, I guess I can't say what I want to say because of spoilers, but yeah, see it.
Well,
yeah, and seeing it in IMAX, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely,
well, kind
if you
of,
can.
Because I saw it in IMAX, but in America, have they done it so all the other scenes have been converted to the same aspect ratio? Because it kept cut. What is up
No.
with that? I've seen loads
what?
of films in IMAX, and the dialogue scenes are in a completely different aspect ratio. What the
Really?
fuck?
what?
Yes.
Well,
That's completely messed
That's
up.
all technical reasons. Like, the IMAX cameras are just so loud that it's just this giant fan that's going in. They're not reasonable to use in a dialogue scene, so...
Yeah, but like
That's
I've
why.
I've seen other films that haven't been filmed in IMAX, and they have converted them so at least the film looks the same throughout. Like, only certain sequences of Mission Impossible was seen in IMAX, filmed in IMAX, but I saw it in IMAX, and it was all. At no point did bars appear on the screen.
Well, the thing is, it's not, at least when I saw it, the transition is such that you don't really notice the bar. I mean, I don't want to say bars, but I mean, it's the scenes when they transition from the dialogue to the IMAX scenes, it's so seamless, and it transitions back so seamlessly that you don't really notice. It's not that jarring. At least for me, it was.
It's done about as well as it can be done, but as soon as you start noticing, I've just ruined it for everyone else who's listening.
I think it's more noticeable in this film just because of how much IMAX stuff is in the movie. Like, Dark Knight, it only had like a dozen minutes, so there wasn't as many transitions, and for the scenes that were in IMAX, there were like one continuous scene. Like, I know at the very end of the movie there was like all those action scenes are in IMAX, and then there's like a small quiet dialogue scene that's just in the traditional aspect ratio. I think it's just how much IMAX stuff is in there that's more noticeable for when it transitions.
So, and for me personally, I kind of miss seeing the Chicago skyline in the background. I'm from the Chicago area, so it's kind of like, and I worked downtown when they filmed The Dark Knight, so for me it's like, I kind of wish they had filmed it there, but can't have everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole structure of Gotham, like, every single time Gotham comes under attack, but it looks completely different in every single film, and you're like, all I know about it is that there's maybe one or two islands and bridges.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I never knew that
every
the entire
bloody
city was
time
an
with the
island
bridges.
I never knew the entire city was an island up until now, and yeah, in the previous films, it totally felt like Chicago to me, but in this one, I was like, maybe it's just because I actually recognized a couple of points in there, but I was just kind of, this really feels like New York to me.
Yeah, it became
and that's
New York.
it. Yeah, they said the bridge scene, they had to film that in New York because Pittsburgh didn't have those kinds of bridges available.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just glad that the Gotham football stadium is still called Heinz Stadium. That's what I'm glad about. It still carries over from Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice.
And I'm glad Heinz Ward exists in both of the universes.
Let's see. I'm really so in between a 4-star and honestly 3.5, but I'll round up to 4. Like I'd give it a B+ if I had to go with a letter grade, just to give a little bit more distinction there. Because like I said, the first 2 acts to me were B's. Last act was an A, and that's still a fantastic movie. That is still, you go and see a movie like that, that is better than 90% of all movies that come out. But yeah, it's still, in the end, just kind of evens out to a B+ to me.
I'll probably give it about the same. I'll probably give it a 4. Because a lot of the reason I don't like it are me rather than anyone else, because it's a lot of it I can recognise as everyone else will be like, well, you're high, or something, which I'm not. I'm just weird. But yeah, it's a good film, which I have never come out of the cinema any more conflicted in my opinions, because it's not normally you come out and you think, that was alright, or that was amazing. I was just like, parts of that were amazing, parts of that were dumb as shit, and it was a really weird contrast, and it's a good film, and you should still see it. Don't let any of this bad amounts of like people going dissuade you. See the film.
Right.
Don't
definitely.
listen to anything we're saying, basically.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I hate coming off sounding almost so negative on this, because it's still a really good film. It's just when you go into it with such high expectations, I kind of feel like I have to go, these are the things keeping it from being a great film for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to really explain to you why the rest of the stuff is good, because we all know the rest of the stuff that's going to be good about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Right.
just, this is why it's not a classic.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, don't take a drink in. It's about 4 hours long.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah, Dustin, you haven't given us your score on it. What would you give?
Yeah, overall I give it a 4.5, because I'm with Jackson in the sense of I never came out of a movie before so conflicted, because there were parts that I absolutely loved, and there were parts that I didn't really care for. I was like, that was stupid. But to me it was a great conclusion to the greatest superhero trilogy of all time. It is a great way to end it, in my opinion, and I love the movie. It was very enjoyable. It's one that I'm more than likely going to buy, and I tried really hard not to compare it to The Dark Knight, and it was...
I think you're allowed to. They are in the same series.
I was
so
about to
that's
say,
totally
it's called
fine.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Rises.
kind of...
It's
you
in the
are
name.
allowed to, but I'm with Kevin in the sense that I lowered my expectations, because there's no way it could have been as good or better than The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight is just one of the greatest films ever made. So I lowered my expectations, and I really enjoyed the movie, because I liked Bane, and I liked the characters and the acting, and all was great. There were a couple parts, like I said, that was kind of stupid in my opinion, but a solid 4.5 for me.
Alright, cool. We'll go into
But you
now.
know what? In terms of superhero threequels, it's better than X-Men Last Stand.
It is
It's
the
better than
best.
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
But let's not even go... It's the world's lowest bar, so...
I was about to say, anyone can limbo under
Right.
that shit. It is...
Well, then we can add Iron Man 3 next summer. See where that fits in.
Well,
Iron Man
that's the
2
thing, is
wasn't
that
that
even if
good
Iron
either.
Man 3 is great, Iron Man 2 was just, it's okay. So,
Actually, Iron Man 2 is the last film I got so conflicted on, because I thought parts of Iron Man 2 were some of the best superhero scenes ever. Like, I'm alone on this, but I thought all the stuff where he was going insane with the drinking is amazing.
oh no, I
And
like
go
that
far
too.
enough.
I like that part too. And
Yeah.
also, Iron Man 2 has my favorite moment from probably any of the any of the Marvel films, aside from in the actual Avengers film, which is when Iron Man comes down and right behind that little kid with the Iron Man mask on, shoots the robot's head off and goes, "Nice shot, kid." I'm a sucker for those scenes. Anytime that you show the hero kind of like patting a little kid on the back, I'm always go, "Aw." So I still like Iron Man 2, but yeah, it's even if Iron Man 3 is great, you'll still kind of go, Iron Man 2 just kind of like, it was a little of a slump there. So, yeah. But,
Yeah, I don't know where you go with Tony Stark now, because Iron Man 2 did the depression thing, and it had build up, and then just threw it away, and now, what'd you do?
well, I know then Iron Man 3, which, by the way, going back to our Comic-Con news, the new Iron Man armor looks horrible.
Oh,
God.
all they need to do is switch
Oh.
the colours, but it just looks... Why is it so gold?
It's because they're in the third one. They want to do the Extremis armor arc, which is basically where Tony gets infected with a living human computer virus, and it slowly turns him into an Iron Man. But he's able to take control of it and actually turn it into like a digital suit that he now just kind of like downloads out of his own body rather than actually having to suit up, which makes...
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Alright, yeah, this is not the Comic Vine podcast. But yeah, it's like, I know why it's gold, but the thing is, in the comics, it's gold and then it turns red when he kind of like suits up. And it's like, yeah, please tell me that's what you're planning on doing here with that, because that looks horrible. But yeah, we're going to now actually head into our spoiler talk, but before we do that... Oh, anything else you guys want to say before we go into that?
I just wanted to say one thing that I thought was... It seems like what I hope is a continuing interesting trend with, The Dark Knight Rises, The Avengers, The Dark Knight, and even Inception to a lesser degree, where we're getting 2.5-hour movies that people can sit through and are really enjoyable, and they're making a lot of money, and I think that's awesome, and I hope that that trend continues for quite some time now. I mean, I know it's few and far between, but I'm just amazed.
I absolutely agree with you on that, because I remember seeing like an article about how films were getting shorter, and I'm starting to see some movies that are just in the 80-minute mark, which to me, unless you're 90 minutes, you're not a movie.
I'm going to disagree on this. I have a strong... 90 minutes is the perfect length for a film. All my favourite films are basically 90 to 100 minutes. Oh, I saw 9, and that's about 70 minutes, and it worked as a film. If it was any longer, it would be stupidly padded out. I disagree.
Oh. Well,
well, then there's the Winnie the Pooh movie that was like 60-something minutes
Oh,
long.
yeah, they had to add in like a completely different short at the beginning just to spread it out, but... Yeah, you know what, if a movie works at 90 minutes, I have no problem with it being 90 minutes, but I feel that so many movies are trying to go the shorter route simply because I don't know if it's cheaper, I don't know if, they figure they can get more people into the theater that way, but I do like the idea that we no longer tell a director and a writer, hey, you have to shorten this down. I like that we're kind of heading towards a point in which people can kind of say, hey, if that is how long it takes for your vision to get on the screen and how long it takes for you to tell the story, then we'll put it up there on the screen. That's what I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I also agree that it's lack of interference, hopefully, now that people are showing that everyone flocks to Joss Whedon after the Avengers and Christopher Nolan, but also remember that Transformers 3 is also this long.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying they're all perfect.
Length and quality are not related.
Yeah, exactly. I guess what I'm trying to say is that now we're moving towards a point in which it's like, hey, if you can keep the quality up and it takes you this long to tell a qualified story, we'll give you that long.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, exactly. It's like there are movies that are stretched out just as often as there are movies that are shortened down to be a weird time point. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. Anything else anybody wants?
Yeah, it's sort of weird when I watched The Lovely Bones because I just got so used to like a 3-hour Peter Jackson movie that a 2-hour Peter Jackson movie seemed oddly short.
Also, there was a lack of trolls in that film.
When Gotham is ashes, you have my permission to die.
Alright, and we're back, and everything is safe and did not get recorded over. Alright. Yes, this is the part we almost had a little heart attack there previously. Everybody, we're going to now go into our spoiler sport part. This is where we actually talk about the film. We're not really even giving it so much as a review anymore. We're just kind of talking about our opinions of it. But I'm not saying we're going to spoil anything. We're just not going to care about spoilers. So I'm going to leave.
We are going to spoil stuff.
Oh, we're going to spoil the hell out of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the intro I give to spoiler sport all the time. Yeah, everybody, just look at the little timestamp below. If you haven't seen the movie yet, don't want anything spoiled. Just skip right over it. All right. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You guys were warned. All right, so what everybody think about?
Snape kills Dumbledore.
Damn it!
That scene came out of nowhere in this movie.
It's like, what is Alan Rickman doing in this film? It's about Batman.
Why is there magic?
But it was
now
Hans
involved
Gruber.
in this?
Why is that guy
Alan
wearing a
Rickman
top
would have made
pointy
an
hat?
excellent Bane.
Alan Rickman would have made excellent Bane. Mr. Wayne.
He did. He was doing a bit of an Alan Rickman impression.
Kind of, I can see that.
Yeah.
What a
Whatever.
lovely voice.
I thought it was Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood, but
Yeah.
Mr. Wayne, I am a plain man, and I'm...
I'd like to imagine all other menace. Imagine the Joker's dialogue entirely in that voice. I'm like a dog chasing a car.
I drink your milkshake does sound...
milkshake, Mr. Wayne.
I drink your milkshake does sound like a Joker line. It does. Let's see. What did everybody think about the big twist of okay, I can't remember her name, but the new girl being Talia?
Sorry,
You know,
Miranda Cotillard, her.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
it coming, but I'm such a comic book geek that I was like, okay,
Exactly.
this is all tying into Ra's al Ghul. Batman's got a new love interest. She has a scar on her back. Probably Talia, but I don't know if anybody else would have seen it coming who doesn't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the reason I saw
Yeah.
it coming was because when Batman is boning her in the middle of the film, there's no reason for her to exist. She has no purpose to the plot except to some point betray them later. Like, she kind of fits into all the boring stock Wayne Enterprise
Boardroom
stuff,
stuff,
but
yeah.
when you get to the actual plot of the film, her only purpose is to betray Batman. She doesn't really do anything else. Yeah, she was a bit dumb.
I really wish that he had planned this out a tad bit more and introduced her in the previous film.
Yeah.
Because it seems so much like they had a history there. And granted, there's an 8-year time gap here, so I can believe that this did appear, but to us as a filmmaker, to us as a film audience, I thought it would have felt a little bit more natural if he had gone, you know what, I'm going to start planning out Talia now and introduce this new character here. Not even as that much, because there's an 8-year time gap, so she could have been just like some lowly employee at the time and risen up in that time period. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen her in The Dark Knight to help Ari put that in there.
Or even in Batman Begins, as in,
Oh, yeah.
like, that is Ra's al Ghul's ace in the hole of this infiltrator. Even if he fails, he will still win in the end. That would have been a better kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, Christopher Nolan hadn't worked with Marion Cotillard yet, so...
Yeah, true. That must be a great thing. If you ever get into a Christopher Nolan film, you are just set for life, because he will just keep putting you in films.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Michael
what
Caine
the-
will be in
yeah.
every movie of his until he's dead.
Also, have any of you seen Torchwood?
No.
Oh shit, no.
What the hell was the guy from Torchwood doing in this film?
I don't.
Who?
Owen from Torchwood. He's just like it's like a BBC show. There's low budget, kind of. He wasn't very good in there. He was all right, I guess. But it's like he was the guy who is the first person to die by exile.
It was, I can't remember his name, but he was
Dorman.
Daggett. Was the name Daggett? It was.
Daggett.
Daggett's-
Yeah, he was the guy that had to walk out on the exile thing. Yeah. He was the guy.
Well, it
with
wasn't Daggett. It was Daggett's assistant,
Yeah,
right?
that guy.
Yeah.
I think this movie would have been better if it had Jack Harkness in it.
Yes.
You could tell he
A
was
lot
just
of
thinking,
movies
oh
would be
my
better
God,
if it
I
had
get-
Jack Harkness in it.
You could tell he was just sitting there thinking, oh, yes, I get to get beat up by Anne Hathaway. This is the great. I'd never had any idea. This is the best thing ever.
Well, did anyone recognize the CIA agent?
Yes,
Tommy
Tommy
Carcetti!
Carcetti! I was so excited about that.
Actually, I didn't. I thought it was Ed Norton, and then I realised it was Tommy Carcetti.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty.
Yeah,
good.
that was kind of neat.
Yeah. I like to imagine that it actually was Tommy Carcetti, that he became a CIA agent, and then Bane killed him.
I gotta say, speaking of Talia, I really liked the twist that they did there at the end by showing, I really love the twist that they did of showing that she was the child born in the pit.
Yeah.
That to me,
Yeah.
like I said, even though I called that it was Talia and like I saw that coming, I did not see that twist coming, and that really kind of hit me hard.
Yeah, I already knew Marion Cotillard was Talia because that was spoiled for me.
I swear they
movie.
announced that like ages ago. That was one of the first things they announced, was that she was going to be Ra's al Ghul's whatever Talia.
Yeah.
Well,
So I
and
knew
then
she was
they
probably going
backpedaled.
to be. I knew she was going to be Miranda Tate, but the child thing did surprise me.
Yeah.
Well, I like what they did with the child thing, but the chick that played the child, the young actress, she spoiled something a while back, saying she was playing a young Talia al Ghul. And when they first showed her face in the movie, I was like, I fucking know the ending now, because I recognized it, and I was like, in the end, that's gonna be Talia. So like that whole part was ruined for me, like an hour and a half into the movie.
Oh,
That's really sucks.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Like, I didn't know that would be that big of a deal. I thought it would be like a flashback or something you'd see her, but nope. Like, you see her face, and I'm like, oh shit, that's Talia.
Well, even IMDb on the cast list, they had Christian Bale as number 1, and then they had Liam Neeson as number 2. Like,
I don't
right
think
on
that's
the
a spoiler.
front of the page.
I knew that Liam
They
Neeson was
basically
coming
ruined
back.
it.
But-
yeah, I had heard
Why
that
would
Liam
you do
Neeson was
that?
coming
That-
back, which,
But
I
the-
kept going, hey, it could always be a flashback, which what it ended up turning out to be. But really, I would have loved it. As soon as I heard that there were rumors that Liam Neeson would be in, I was like, for anybody who knows the comic, you know Ra's al Ghul is not dead. That's his whole thing, is that he does not die. So it would have seemed a little bit weird to me, seeing as how in Christopher Nolan's world it's supposed to be more realistic, so there is no Lazarus pit that keeps bringing Ra's al Ghul back to life. But if at the end it had been revealed that, Ra's al Ghul had been behind all of this, I would have been excited, but I was also glad that they didn't do that they did not go the supernatural route, and they kept it, grounded in reality.
Well,
How
it
did you
doesn't fit
how did
with
you come back
Nolan's.
to life, Ra's al Ghul? Well, I have a very particular set of skills.
Give me back my daughter, Bruce Wayne.
Oh, the Taken 2 trailer also appeared in front of The Dark Knight Rises in my showing.
Oh, really?
It
What
did,
showing-
yeah.
Oh, you mean Toucan?
Yeah, Toucan.
Toucan.
Which, by the way, Rick Moranis is going to be in that movie. What? This is the movie that brings him out of retirement?
Rick, what?
What? I don't even know what to
You're
say.
really making that up, because that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
That's what it's been said so far. Like, I believe it was either the IMDb page or the Wikipedia page, which granted, Wikipedia isn't that trusting, but I think it was the IMDb page. Actually, he said Rick Moranis is listed on there, which granted, it could be another actor by the name of Rick Moranis. But this is what's been reported, that he's in this movie somewhere.
Could you
He's just going to be... He's going to hear his neighbor's TV on really loud, so he'll turn on his TV really loud, so he'll make the superintendent think that both the TVs are both working correctly.
could you just imagine the Rick Moranis for Honey, I Shrunk the Kid? Oh no, I'm gonna help you find your family.
Is he going to be Liam
Shrunk his daughter.
Neeson's plucky sidekick?
All I can think whenever I look at the trailer for Taken 2 is that, okay, so the wife gets taken? The wife was a bitch in the first one. Why does he care?
Yeah.
Hold on, is that seriously the plot of Taken 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're kidding
It's
me.
that, but also, and this is one thing that I actually do like about it, is that all the people he killed in the previous one, they had families, and the families are now pissed. Which I kind of like, because it's in every action movie ever, you just see tons of random thugs getting killed, and you never stop to think, I bet that guy had a wife.
I hated the ending of Taken 1. Spoilers for Taken, by the way. It was the one, because he just killed all these people, and I was like, the best thing about Taken is that it doesn't shy away from the fact that Liam Neeson is a horrible person and will kill you in your sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Because he will find you and he will
and
kill
then
you.
suddenly it cuts to the end and he's home and it's like, hooray, singing lesson. I'm like, no, you should be in prison.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so Bruce Wayne dies.
So
Or
Batman.
does he?
Right.
So Batman.
Yeah, anything else anybody wants to kind of spoiler about that? Yeah, you were talking about the MacGuffin in this one. The tick.
Oh, I was?
Yeah, the ticking time bomb.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, the fusion reactor.
Yeah, which was that in?
I like that.
Maybe I'm just forgetting it, but it seems like they just meant that had been in a previous one, but I'm forgetting it.
No,
it wasn't.
That was the
No, you're thinking of the one from Batman Begins where it
Microwave
evaporated the
emitter.
water supply and the thing
Oh,
came
okay.
into the air.
Okay.
Yeah, the microwave emitter.
Yeah. that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
the
felt
thing
like
that
it was
vaporized
just
all the
one
water.
more- I felt it was one more plot into the film, and I felt that this movie's already so busy with so many different plot lines that it would have been much easier if Bane had just gotten some ex-Soviet nuclear bomb and he just transported it. Why did it have to be some huge plot involving Wayne Enterprises?
Yeah.
I think you've hit on the head why I thought the plot of The Dark Knight Rises is basically not a very good plot. Is that The Dark Knight had a complicated plot, where The Dark Knight Rises has a convoluted plot. And like the Dark Knight is completely complex with many threads, but it all makes sense. You get the Joker robbing from the mob, and then all that plays out as it would. Whereas here you've got things that like, well, why didn't they just do this, or why the hell have they waited 5 months and half a day to start doing the plan? That's ridiculous. Why are they all coming? You've had 5 months in the last 12 hours. That is stupid.
I know it's weird to have a ticking
plot builds better.
Yeah, it's weird to have a ticking time bomb when the time bomb's time limit is 5 months.
Procrastination at its finest.
I'll get to it. Yeah, which once again, that's another one of the things which kind of made me feel like the time element in this didn't really work. Like, I didn't buy that was a 5-month period because, for one reason, you've got a ticking time bomb there, but it's a time bomb that lasts 5 months. But also, you've got like Bruce Wayne off in the prison, which I thought was great. I love that.
Yeah.
But like you would
yeah,
say,
that's
like,
probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, they were like
actually,
saying,
I need to. No.
Oh, you disagree?
Well, okay, with the Bruce Wayne in the prison thing, it was okay, but this was the part where me and the movie started to go. I would have preferred it if that entire thing with if say in the first fight with Batman, Bruce Wayne was dead. Like, and the entire rest of the movie was, I don't know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because he was way better.
That's the thing that I kept expecting to happen. I kept expecting Joseph Gordon-Levitt to suit up, which, I mean, at the end...
Yeah!
Which, I mean, at the end it implies it, and let me just say,
Because he's on the lift, and the lift's going up, and then it goes the Dark Knight, right? He's the Dark Knight. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I gotta say, one of the reasons why I could not quite give this an A was just simply because there was no, like, jaw-dropping scene, except for that final shot. That final shot I absolutely love. Which, I mean, if you're going to have one jaw-dropping scene, it should be the final scene, so...
I think the beginning's incredible, but I had already seen it when I saw Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
So the impact is sort of lost.
Oh. Did anybody kind of groan or go when they're like, "Oh, you should go by your real name, Robin"?
Yeah.
Like,
Actually, I was going, say Dick Grayson. Say Dick Grayson.
Yes,
Dick Grayson,
yes, that's kind of.
But yeah,
But,
but
like,
I didn't totally groan at because the whole time after they said Robin, it kind of like all hit me like I figured they were trying to make him be kind of like his Robin without actually being. But then after they said that, I went, wait a minute, his last name is Blake. That sounds just like Drake, which was the third Robin, and now we know his middle name is John, which it was Dick Grayson's middle name, and Dick Grayson was a cop, and both those guys were orphans. They basically just tried to amalgam all the Robins into one guy, and I kind of dug that. I think they kind of successfully pulled it.
Are you calling him a round Robin?
Oh God.
So I sort of don't. I'm sort of mixed on the whole Robin thing. The one thing I wish they said was like, oh, you should go by your real name. It's like, yeah, it's Terry. And then Terry McGinnis, and then it just would have led into Batman Beyond. That would have been even better.
Yeah, because that's the thing is that they're talking about rebooting. They immediately want to reboot and immediately want to do new Batmans. I keep saying we just saw and loved a
If they reboot it, they are making a horrible mistake because he won't be Bruce Wayne, but like Joseph Gordon-Levitt will be a fantastic Batman.
Oh, they're not. No, they're not talking about that. They're talking about new Bruce Wayne story right off.
What?
Yeah, that's what they want to do because DC looked over at Marvel and went, "Hey, that Avengers movie made a lot of money," and so they want to do
but
their
how
own
about doing that with this guy?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. But I would really love it if it's not going to work if you do another Bruce Wayne Batman this close. So I'd say if you really want to reboot Batman, do Batman Beyond because then there's a reason for why it's a different guy. Batman Beyond looked like Blade Runner, so it has that same kind of dark, edgy world that, we expected from the Christopher Nolan universe. And also, if you really do want to set up a Justice League movie, have at some point, Terry McGinnis, looks at a photo and it looks, it's beat up, but he's like, who are these other folks in there? And Bruce Wayne mentioned something about, I had to, it was a team a long time ago. It's not important, or just something to kind of get in the works.
And that could be like what he did within the 8-year period where he disappeared. Ooh. And that could be like he was working with the Justice League during that time.
Ooh. Yeah, because he's crippled for no reason at the beginning of the movie.
Exactly, and
I mean, he was pretty beat to shit at the end of the
Yeah,
Dark
the Dark
Knight.
Knight-
I mean, he took that fall and
I
he was
assumed
limping
it was
along
from the
pretty
fall.
good.
He's limping at the end of Dark Knight. Yeah, so
Yeah, but even so, it doesn't take 8 years.
Well, but I mean, like they said, I mean,
he's got
you
no
know, with that
cartilage
whole-
in his bone. They said that he
Right.
was basically. But although that was one problem that I had with the movie is that there wasn't really he didn't really seem like that torn about whether or not he should become Batman again. He just went, they need me again? Alright, here's a machine that I just whipped up to make my leg normal
Yeah,
again.
and then he kicked through the brick.
Yeah, I was like, are you turning into a superhero now? What
was
are
like,
you...
Why don't you wear that all the time?
Why did you not have this to start with?
Yeah, I think that whole beginning's sort of confusing. It felt like a season opener for Mad Men. It's just like so much time has elapsed and everyone else is at different points in their lives, and then you're just trying to catch up to what's going on.
Yeah, it was a weird thing because I was like going, oh man, it's been 4 years since the last Batman movie. I wonder if I remember exactly where it left off. And then they go, oh, it's been 8 years. And I was like, oh, okay. It was an interesting choice to start off 8 years later. But yeah, I think that he was basically trying to fit in so many different Batman storylines. Because, you know, they've got Nightfall, they've got No Man's Land, all these other great Batman stories. And I feel like, you know, they were trying to also tie in Dark Knight, Return of the Dark Knight, which was a story set in the future where Bruce Wayne hadn't been Batman for 10 years and they decided to come back. So I think they were trying to do that a little bit by saying it's been 8 years. But
Who else loved
Right.
the appearance by Scarecrow?
oh, I really like that.
Yeah, it
I
was-
love
Yeah.
Scarecrow. Cillian Murphy is excellent, but I do not buy that the people of Gotham would say, who is the best choice for a judge?
Yeah, that
I know.
exactly. That was my
Scarecrow!
exactly. That was my problem with when all those people kind of started rising up. It's like if it was just the criminals kind of run things, and it kind of looked like, I don't know, Arkham City, just thrown out there. If they kind of had like the criminals around running things, but instead it looked like all the people came together on this. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not buying all the people coming together on that. It's
You know, the people and the criminals who in the Dark Knight threw the detonator out the window. Where are your, like, moralities?
I know what happened over the last 8 years that made all these people just forget that. But
Remember the whole thing in the Dark Knight with the people are good after... No, they're not.
yeah, and that was also one of those moments where it really kind of hit me how Heath Ledger's death really affected the series, because I looked at that and I went, if Heath Ledger was still alive, you know that would have been the Joker up there as the judge.
Now, I do not think the
Or
Joker
would
have been
Bane have
introduced
even
to such a
existed?
character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been a big... I think The Dark Knight Rises would have been another Batman and Joker story. It would have had to have been, because Heath Ledger was so phenomenal that they would not have let that go. He would have been a central player.
He would have played a part in this. I'm not saying they wouldn't have introduced another villain as well, but
Oh,
yeah.
the amount
I
of
feel
plot
like-
they'd have had 4 villains.
Oh, well, yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
I-
they probably might not have had Bane, but they might have had, you know, Talia and Joker in there. They still would have had at least one of those villains coming to this one.
See, I was kind of disappointed that, you know, when Nolan finally confirmed that they did kill off Two-Face, because I thought his transformation and then going, you know, from Harvey Dent to Two-Face and then like, oh, we're just going to kill him off. It just seemed too quick. I felt like they could have done so much more with that. And, you know, and he would have been a perfect judge, like, in this situation. in
Oh,
this
yeah,
movie.
you're
Yeah.
right. He would have been a far better character to have than that.
Yeah, but then all that stuff would have deterred how great the ending of The Dark Knight would have been. Like how much the rise and fall of Harvey Dent, that would have been way more diminished.
Yeah, it
Oh,
would.
no, I get that.
It would have been
It makes
like,
The Dark Knight a worse movie that way, if he's still alive.
yeah, they would.
Or do you think if he would have stayed as Two-Face and people found out, like, okay, he's, you know, fallen, now Gotham has dropped into even a worse hole than it already was.
Yeah, like if instead of Bane, Bane reading that letter which tells the truth about Two-Face, if instead maybe he had like pulled Two-Face out and said he's been locked up in Arkham Asylum all this time in secret, and
Right.
Two-Face himself then, you know, makes this declaration and reveals who he is. Because that I would have really believed all the people losing their shit, because the thing that's kept Gotham sane all this time was kind of was the Harvey Dent Act. And, you know, having Bane read that letter, I could understand a couple of people losing their mind, but if it actually had been, like, you know, Two-Face coming out there, I could have seen, like, the whole city just losing their minds.
And that whole part with Joseph Gordon-Levitt being, like, angry at Jim Gordon when Bane's reading the letter, like, the very next scene, he's, like, buddy-buddy with Jim Gordon again.
Yeah.
It's like all that anger and
That's
how upset he
a
was.
side
he's
effect
gone.
of how rushed it gave.
Yeah.
Even though it's long, they just force so much in there that okay, we need this one emotional beat and we have 30 seconds to do it. Go.
Yeah, that's how I felt a lot about it, because it is one of those films in which they wanted to be epic, and like I said, I want a big meal for my last Batman film, but it did seem like they just put too much in there, so not enough of it was able to work together.
I thought,
and I think another one of the things that made this movie too busy was the what's the guy, the business guy, Daggert?
Yeah.
That whole thing about him trying to take over Wayne Enterprises.
Oh, that scene was awful. That
could have been taken out.
It was like a Power Rangers scene where it's like, why am I not the head of Wayne Enterprises yet? I want to rule the world.
Yeah.
What do
it's
we
just
do,
like
Bane,
another
tonight?
thing to introduce Catwoman.
Yeah, and also it
just kind of shows how shoehorned in Catwoman is to the plot.
Yeah, and for a Christopher Nolan film, it made him very two-dimensional, which is not what I would typically expect from his films.
Like, he can do busy really well. Like, Inception proved that, with how many different timelines were going on at the same time, so...
But Inception was busy on a different level. The plot of Inception was extremely simple. It was, we need to put that thing in that guy's mind, and it had a very clear objective, and it was extremely simple when you boiled down to it, and it built upon that, whereas The Dark Knight Rises is complex from the beginning, and there's corporations, and there's the League of Shadows, and there's mystery, and there's a pit, and there's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and there's no through line.
I can see that. I can understand that. Like, when you started saying Inception was simple, I was like, wait a minute, what? But no, I understand what you're saying. The basic element of Inception is simple, and then they build upon it. Yeah. And then Dark Knight Rises is so many elements coming together that it's like watching a really great juggler who just gets one too many things in there. But speaking of the Scarecrow thing being the judge, that was one other little thing that I wanted to say, that this isn't a criticism, because I understand why they wouldn't have done it, but it was a tad bit of a disappointment, and it's just solely me being, once again, the comic book geek on the site. That seemed like having all the criminals come out, that seemed like a little bit of a missed opportunity. They could have had so many little Easter eggs in there that me as a fanboy just was like, in the first movie when they open up, when they open up and let the prisoners come out and run around, you see Zaz in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, where is Zaz? I need to see Zaz.
Yeah, and this one I was like, okay, I'm not saying have Poison Ivy come out on big growing plants or something. But there's other Batman villains who have no superpowers. We could see a couple of guys in there. We could see a guy with a little question mark carved into his shoulder.
You missed out the whole middle section of where the reason it's winter is because of Mr. Freeze.
Oh shit! Yes. Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah, I think that's just, it gets too far into the area where it's too much of a wink and nod.
Well, I'm saying, I'm not saying.
No. He does the Robin thing at the end. He can no longer hide behind the "we're not winking and nodding" here. He does the big, which is more of actually a big middle finger, because he's more saying that I did Robin. It was Robin all along, you guys. I made it not shit. Is basically what he was doing with that, and
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not saying throwing like a bunch of sci-fi elements or like throwing something big, but like have like a scene where everybody's losing their mind, and have like a question mark in green spray painted on the side of a wall or something, or
just graffiti.
Yeah, just graffiti or something. Give me like a little something. But like I said, that's not a criticism of the film, because it doesn't take away from the film at all. It's just me as a comic book geek. I was like, such a missed opportunity. It would have been that would have been a moment in which me as a fanboy just would have like told all my other complaints, shut up, this is now the greatest movie ever, watch.
Yeah.
There was a bald guy wearing blue in the background. I think that was Mr. Freeze. All right, we're going with it.
Or they could have just put people that looked really like superheroes. Like, they could have had a guy with a barcode on his head. They could have had, I don't know, for other franchises, just like crazy nicking things. That would have been awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Why is Master Chief in Gotham?
Kratos is just starting up this giant riot in the middle of Gotham.
Just go to Comic-Con and say, hey, everybody get really mad and just start running at the camera. We're going to put in Dark Knight Rises. It's going to be awesome.
What would Christopher Nolan's version of Crash Bandicoot look like?
Dark and gritty.
I'm Crash.
Now, Nolan, this is it. He's gone on record. Him and Bale, this is it. They're done with
exactly.
Batman. Right?
No more.
So, if
can
in a
talk about
perfect
it.
world where Warner Brothers doesn't want to reboot the series but continue it and maybe have Joseph Gordon-Levitt do, whether it's Robin or Batman in a Batman Beyond type of situation, or even Nightwing.
I was about to say, skip Robin, go right to Nightwing.
It only makes sense if he is Batman, because the entire time Batman's talking to him going, Batman is not a person, Batman is a symbol. And he can't be, suddenly it is Nightwing now, haha.
Yeah, exactly, it has to be Batman for this, but if you're not going to do Batman, don't do Robin, go right to Nightwing,
Right, so would we even want to see something? Who could we even see as doing another movie in this same universe?
Oh, good question.
Without completely
I was thinking of this
up.
earlier, and I was like, who would be really ridiculous? Nicholas Winding Refn would be a great one.
Oh, I was about to say that guy. I would like to see a Batman movie of his.
I bet it would be amazing.
Just have Ryan Gosling in it, that's for sure.
As the villain. The Driver versus the Batman.
Ooh.
Just Batman and the Batmobile, just like, and a real hero.
Let's see. Who would I go with?
The Michael Mann version.
Ooh. That could be.
That would be good. I might.
How about the Michael Bay?
Oh, God.
If they
you could go to hell. Come on.
Don't you even throw that out there.
Right. Michael Bay's probably going to listen to this.
Co-directing with Brett Ratner.
Oh.
I want a Wes Anderson animated Batman.
Oh, actually, you know what? You joke, but Wes Anderson doing a Brave and the Bold kind of Batman.
Exactly.
Whereas all those 70s hokey kind of jokey stuff, I'd be good with that.
You get Paul Dini to write it?
Yeah. I might, if they really are saying, hey, we want to tie it into Justice League, which, don't do that. But if you really want to do it, I might go with Gore Verbinski. Maybe because he could do the little bit more of a science fiction element, set more in that, I guess.
I would like Duncan Jones. Maybe. Or Neil Blomkamp. I don't know.
Ben Stiller.
Yes,
Directing.
the mumbling Batman. It's bad enough. It's hard enough to understand Batman now, but if he gets up there, I'm the Knights.
No, directing.
Oh, just directing. Okay.
Ben Stiller is Derek Zoolander as Batman.
These are my bat hair dryers. Oh, that's Zohan. That's Zohan.
Oh, God.
Zohan as Batman.
Adam Sandler can stay away.
Can we talk about the ending?
I was just about to say, how have we not gotten to the ending yet?
Because the ending was one of the best things I had ever seen, and then it punched me in the face with being stupid.
Honestly,
okay.
I've kind of felt the same way about this ending as I did about Inception, where it was like, oh, I love what they're doing, you went a step too far.
Yeah! Because I was like, the scene with, because obviously the scene earlier that we didn't actually talk about, we implied in the earlier thing, with when Alfred leaves, and it's the one time that Hans Zimmer shuts up, you're like, oh God, wow. And it's like the most emotionally impactful scene in the thing, when Alfred is like, I cannot do this, you are insane, I've got to go.
That is the saddest scene in the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's a sad
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they
scene
have Alfred actually going, doing what no Alfred has ever done before in any of these movies or, interpretations, where he actually goes, you're dressing up like a giant bat and going out there and getting the crap kicked out of you. This is not healthy.
And like a real father figure would at this point. It's just like, no, I don't want to see you die in a bat costume. I want to see you have a life. I cannot watch this. And then when he dies, it is like heartbreaking when you see him at the funeral, just like he has failed. And that was one of the ballsiest things I thought a film could do, is have that be completely unresolved as the endpoint to a trilogy, like some relationships are in real life. And it's like, well done. And then he was alive, and I was just like, fuck you.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. I have no problem with him implying that he's still alive. I really like that. But then they actually show that shot of him.
Would have been better if it was just the shot of Michael Caine and then he smiles and then it cuts to John Blake.
That
wouldn't have been better.
That is exactly what I would have liked them to have done. Like, just have Michael Caine sit down, look up with this slight look of realization, and maybe even see like the back of Anne Hathaway's head, and like see like the silhouette of some guy with black hair sitting on the other end of her, and then cut back to Michael Caine, and he just smiles and lifts up his drink.
I didn't like the fact that it was Anne Hathaway, though.
Yeah, like I said, Anne Hathaway is the one actress out there who I don't know why just doesn't really jive with me, but I bought her in this.
Well, I mean, I didn't like the fact that when he saw him and he was with a girl, it was Anne Hathaway. I didn't like that it was Selena Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you didn't? I don't know. That didn't. It kind of makes sense a little. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it makes sense as what Christopher Nolan, because of what I had thought had happened when you had the scene with Lucius going, he had fixed the autopilot. I thought that that was a deliberate suicide. Then that's how messed up in the head Batman was. He really wanted to die.
Shit.
That's what I thought they were doing. And then when they pulled the rug out from under that, I was like, and then on top of that with Anne Hathaway stuff, so just like that, after all this mental build-up of how much stress he's under, he's just like, and I'm good, just go have sex in some foreign country which look extremely awesome. I'm rich again, apparently.
Alfred, I love you and everything,
but... Is Bruce Wayne smart enough to make a software patch?
Oh! Yeah, Bruce Wayne isn't Tony Stark. Why did he become Tony Stark in that scene?
I did like that they actually show that Bruce Wayne is a detective in this movie, which I felt was kind of lacking from the other ones. But, I agree with you on that Anne Hathaway thing. Like I said earlier in the conversation, that just really, I didn't buy that because, like when he goes to her for help, it's like, motherfucker, you have met her 3 times, she stole from you the first time, set you up in a trap the 3rd time.
And now you're going to run away to some foreign country where they live happily ever after.
I know, she did come back to...
Isn't that the whole relationship between Batman and Catwoman, though?
It is. I mean, it is just, they kind of back and forth thing, and that's how it's always been, and...
The relationship between Catwoman is not settled down.
Yeah, that's true, which,
well,
hey, we don't know...
Maybe he was finally listening to Alfred, and just decided, okay, this is it. I'm hanging it up, and hey...
Yeah. Which, in all fairness, they do kind of explain in this one that Catwoman doesn't necessarily want to be this person. She's only doing it because she's in debt to people. And so, yeah, it is kind of implied that as soon as she gets that card, she is willing to give up that life. So, I mean, I kind of bought them right off together. I just didn't really buy the scene before that where he comes to her for help. But then again, she did come back and save him. So, I can kind of see it, but... I'm mixed on that one. I'm mixed on it being Catwoman at the end.
Yeah,
I don't know. How did everyone feel about Bane's maybe death?
Terrible.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed kind of like
bang.
Yeah.
That's it. This is the big Batman and Bane is meant to be this giant physical confrontation. They kind of have it on the steps, and then Catwoman just shoots them with a bike. Are you kidding me?
I had a problem with that one too. Because like I said, when I saw that first teaser trailer, I was like, oh my god, Bane is going to kill Batman, and then it's like, no, Bane punches him a lot, and he was never the villain to begin with. He was always just the hired muscle. It kind of just felt like a letdown to me.
It does highlight the whole thing that if Batman if he used his weapons, it would have been much easier. That's how quickly Catwoman was able to defeat Bane. It sort of shows
Batman should have just pulled a gun.
In a weird way, this is like the perfect movie for right-wing conservatives to just fall in love with, because it's like, okay, the Occupy Wall Street people are the villains in this movie, and if Batman had a gun, this whole problem would have been solved in 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I was looking at it like, Christopher Nolan is pretty Republican, isn't he? Here's a shot of a full police officer in that long, lingering shot of the deputy commissioner dead. It's just like, it's a bit too far, mate. That's almost Michael Bay levels of saluting.
Well, especially since the guy was kind of such a douche.
Douche.
I mean, he's like cowers like a little bitch for half the movie. Gordon's like, get the fuck out here, and he's like, yeah.
And then he takes the role of Shia LaBeouf in iRobot in the charge scene, because that battle scene at the end was basically nicked from iRobot.
Yeah, and how, I don't know, did it just seem weird to me that all the cops just start rushing all the convicts who are armed with
Machine
machine
guns.
guns, and like half them don't even have handguns. It's like, hey, just whatever.
And not to mention, these cops are
not-
malnourished and been in a cave for 5 months. It's...
Right.
Not as weird as the bit earlier where they were all chasing Batman. It was like 7,000 cop cars down one road,
Let's forget the people who
coming from
just...
every direction.
They're like, let's just forget the people that just stole all the money on Wall Street. Let's go after Batman and get not only just send the people that were there, send every available cop we have. Call the ones that are off duty.
Well,
get them
they're
out
still
here.
under the assumption that Batman killed Dent.
Yeah.
I can buy that, but yeah, still, they should have had a couple of cops going after those guys. But,
They had enough. There was so
I
many
sort of
cops
wish
there.
when
They could've- yeah.
Talia drove off the road. I wish there was like something that was like she was impaled with something. She just seemed like she was slouching in the seat of the truck, and then she just died.
Didn't the whole front end of that truck just kind of smush in a bit? I don't know.
yeah,
It
how
seems
is
like
she
she-
that
Yeah,
injured?
Yeah, it seems like she would have flew through
death-
the
her
windshield or
death-
something.
Yeah, she wasn't
That
wearing
had
a
actually been
seatbelt.
some.
Yeah, that's true.
That had actually been something that the Nolan trilogy had avoided until that point. The whole we're going to show someone about to die talking like this, because it's never good. It's always terrible because they're talking like this and it just sounds like they've got a stomachache, and they've always just cut away at that moment, and it's been more emotional pain than actual pain, and then they do it at the most important moment, and you're like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Which, speaking of that scene, once again, we've been talking so much negative about this movie. One part
Yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely love is when Batman says that a hero can be anyone, including just a police officer who puts a coat around a little boy and tells him everything's going to be okay. And I love that is how Batman kind of told Commissioner Gordon who he was.
Right.
Yeah.
The chase scene with the Batwing and the other tumblers, that was so awesome.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Kind of. Like, it doesn't take away from the movie. It was a great chase scene, but it made me realise what a terrible Batman film this was. Like, Batman only has the one scene in the sewers where he is doing anything remotely Batman. Otherwise, he is a car chase person. He is flying. He does no other actual Batmaning.
It is a
Like-
Bruce Wayne movie when you get right down to it.
It's a Bruce Wayne
Yeah.
movie, and then Batman is
Right.
a symbol, but in terms of, like, the climactic big Batman moment is a helicopter chase, which is fine. It doesn't make the movie worse, but it does make it less Batman.
I can understand that, yeah. It's, like I said, it's a really great film, and it's a really great interpretation, imagining by Christopher Nolan. But yeah, I can understand, like, it really, I've heard a lot of critics basically saying, I like a little bit more Batman in my Batman movie, and that's kind of how I felt, like.
I don't think you need more. I think it worked better when Batman was more just like the symbol of hope as Gotham. But in the absence of Batman prevails. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm fine with that, but what I meant was more of, like, I want to see Batman actually acting kind of like Batman. Like, even the fight with Bane, Batman is a world-class martial artist, and yet him going up against Bane was just kind of, like, slugging it out.
Oh, yeah,
But it has been 8
that
years
was
since he's
hit-
been in a game, so I can understand why he lost him.
Okay, yeah, I
There
can
was the
understand.
There was the one scene in the sewers where he was walking with Catwoman, and the Catwoman was like behind you, and he's like, "Yo, I'm Batman."
Oh, that was great. I love that.
That was great.
Yes.
Especially that first scene when he comes back as Batman in the tunnels on the bike. That I don't know. To me, like I just kind of got really giddy and
You're in
like,
for
"Oh,
a
Batman!"
shoulder.
I like that. I like when the one cop was still like, "Oh, I know I still know that Batman's a good guy," and he was telling the young kid, "Trust me, you're gonna want to see this."
Right, and then he shoots his like fancy
Yeah.
electro gun, and he's like, "The fuck."
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Don't kill me.
Which we need to mention the best joke in the entire film, which is when
Catwoman
Catwoman jumps off the
yes.
ledge. So that's what that feels like. And I appreciate how Batman doesn't stop the voice when there's no one around. It's not like Bruce Wayne just went, "Oh, so that's what that's like." No, Batman did just go, "So that what's that like?"
Yeah, that was something that I noticed too. That is a very unique thing that they decided to have him keep that voice around. Just something because it's kind of like saying, "No, this is who Bruce Wayne is the mask. Batman is the person." It's more like that's his actual voice when he's down there.
And Batman's voice was actually fine this time. It sounded more like a Batman Begins voice than Dark Knight voice.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't nearly as gravelly. It was more of just kind of like low.
Although he
anyone
kinda-
appreciate- the bit where he went, "Where is the trigger?"
Yes,
Okay.
I was just gonna say he was kind of like very Jack Bauer-esque.
Yes.
Where's the trigger?
Where is the trigger?
Where's our trigger?
Get to the chopper!
Wait,
Hold on, hang on.
wait. Arnold? What?
He had a chopper, I don't know.
Wrong Batman movie.
Yeah. Oh, but
Death!
Free.
By exile! Yeah, it's
So,
good.
as far as like the ending goes, was anybody kind of disappointed that
Yeah.
Batman / Bruce Wayne wasn't actually dead? Like, I thought that
Yes!
I thought that would have been a great way for Nolan to end it, because then nobody can fuck with his vision.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like now people, it's possible. I don't know if they're gonna do it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I almost wish Bruce Wayne was dead, because I feel like that would have had a bigger impact on the film itself. Like, oh, wink, nod, he's alive. Like, I think, like you guys were saying earlier, if Alfred had seen John Blake in, what was it, Florence or whatever, that would have been a better way to end the film, because then he knows, oh, there's still a protector of Gotham out there.
Oh, well, I'm not. Yeah,
There's
I still
actually
wanted
a
John Blake to
theory-
be in the Batcave and actually be like, I wanted that final shot of him, like, suddenly the machines coming to life around him as he kind of discovers it. But what I'm saying is, like, him in Florence, and he just kind of, like, looks up and gets, like, this look of hope in his eyes, and just, you see him, like, kind of crack a small smile, and we never even see what he's looking at.
It would have been way better if Alfred was going down the lift instead of in Florence, and then Blake was coming up, and then the last shot is you see in the Batcave Alfred and Blake looking at each other and then knowing. That would have been awesome.
I just got chills from that description.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Director's cut.
Yeah, that's one thing, is that it hurts me so much that so many people develop so many theories about what this movie is going to be going into it, and I came out of it going, I really like the movie, but almost every theory I heard about what this movie was going to be, I kind of like a little bit more.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
even during the film, you get, because it's so long, you can have enough time to think about what's going on. Oh, I think it would have been better if this had happened 5 minutes ago, or if this had happened. You're like, watch the film, shut up, brain.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that so many people say, oh, well, I think you people just didn't like it as much because your expectations were so high. But I've always said that whenever your expectations are high, for every one person out there that gets disappointed because their expectations are so high, there's another person out there who makes excuses for a film because their expectations were high. And about an hour and a half into it, I was criticizing something, and I realized I've criticized like 5 things in this movie, and every time I've done it, this voice in my brain just suddenly goes, shut the hell up, this is Batman, you're going to love it. And so I realized, yeah, it's, I think my expectations were like kind of like making me ignore for a large part of it, like some problems I had, but I mean, I still absolutely love this film. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, same. It is still, Nolan has made another film in this trilogy, and it fits.
Yeah.
It has not failed in its role.
Yeah.
So for all this criticism and things that we would have preferred to been better, it's still about... Wait, everyone who's watched... Yeah, you've seen it. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a spoiler bit.
Yes. Everybody's seen it. They know what we're talking about.
Right.
You guys know.
Yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about in the spoiler section?
Did you think... Okay, in the end, right before you find out Maria Cotillard's character was Talia, Batman says to Bane... He says something, then he says, then you have my permission to die. Was he really going to let Bane die since he's that against killing?
Ooh. I don't know.
Badass lines are over character.
But would Batman kill Bane, or would he just let Bane suffer
Oh,
because
just like with
he
Ra's al
knocked
Ghul.
the...
Just like with Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, like,
I don't have to say
Right.
Yeah, would he kill Bane,
Yeah.
or would he, like, rip off his mask and let him die, or, like, just leave him laying there, like, not fix him, because...
Hold on. Killbane. What? Are we talking about Saints Row the Third?
Don't call me Eddie.
Well, we know who the guy in our crew is that's going to be making puns, so that's been established.
That's true. I did peek earlier with that one. Was it round robin
there
or
needed to be a
something?
giant wrestling ring at the end of this movie, and then they just throw giant sex dolls into the wrestling ring, and then you just use those to hit Killbane.
Bane does wear a luchador mask in the comics. It could have ended in a wrestling match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Killbane was a ginormous reference to Bane. That is fact.
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely...
Yeah.
I mean, do you... As far as with Bane, I mean, do you think that... it was good that they didn't have the whole Venom thing.
I agree. I like that. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I would have been fine with it if they did have it, but I'm fine with them not having it because, yeah, Christopher Nolan does not do science fiction in the Batman film, aside than just having really high tech, machines.
Right.
And putting the Venom thing in there, yeah, you could have done like more of like not like a fluid being pumped into him like it is in the comics, but if it was more of like a steroid that he injected into himself, and like Bane gave some big speech about how he's willing to destroy his body in order to save the world or something, in order to accomplish his goals, or gave some kind of a speech that just explained why he was willing to go beyond regular human physique. I would have been fine with it. But so I don't have a problem with them not doing the Venom, but I wouldn't have had a problem with them doing it as long as they could have sold it in the Christopher Nolan world where it's not a science fiction thing.
Right. Well, I mean, they had the whole... Oh, sorry, go.
No,
I kind of forgot that Tom Hardy was Bane for the longest time.
Well, Tom Hardy is a...
Like, when they actually
wait.
revealed him in the prison, like, they pulled down his mask, I was like, oh my god, yeah, that's what Tom Hardy looks like. He doesn't look like Bane at all.
Speaking of Tom Hardy and the whole fact that he was raised in the pit and mining and all that stuff, have any of you seen Star Trek Nemesis?
I have.
Why was the backstory exactly the same as his character from Star Trek Nemesis, of the whole being born in the pit? I know it turned out to be Talia, but half the way through the film I was like, he's playing the same character from Star Trek Nemesis, except bigger. What is this? This is the weirdest thing.
I don't want to think about Star Trek Nemesis, so...
I like Star Trek Nemesis. I like Star Trek Nemesis. I thought he was good in that. I would say he is better in that than this film, so I'm insane, I guess.
I don't know. Tom Hardy to me is one of my favorite actors out there working today.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
an amazing actor.
Yeah.
Although to me, I was more intimidated by his character in Warrior than I was by Bane in this one. Like, he seemed more Bane-ish in that one to me.
I'm Banish.
Bane-ish.
See? Right.
That is so Banish, man.
I come from Denmark.
I don't know,
I'm Danish.
Right. I mean, it just seemed to me like with the whole... I don't think Batman, even after, getting his back repaired and training and coming back and blah, 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 I still don't think that he could have beaten Bane.
Yeah.
I think that had Catwoman not shown up, Batman would have been shot in the face with the shotgun. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he would have thrown out some fancy tool from his belt. Or
That was really weird, because
I
I like that moment where he's like, "You just have to imagine the fire," but why didn't he do that an hour earlier? You just have to imagine Gotham burning. Pop.
yeah.
Like, there was no reason for him to be alive. Bane would have killed him when he had the chance. There was not. I don't know why he left him.
Well, now, if Bane had been, like, the main villain, I could have understood it, because then it could have been, like, in the comics, Bane wanted a challenge. That's why he went to fight Batman. So when I thought Bane was going to be the main villain of this, I understood it, because in my mind, Batman had gotten soft over 8 years of not working out. So he basically threw him into the prison to say, here's where you're going to learn to become a challenge to me again. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
But then when you find out Bane is not the main villain, I was like, yeah, I don't really get this. I don't...
Well, Bane
Well, it was kinda
correctly
like-
says he doesn't want Batman to die because Batman wants to die. His punishment has to be more severe.
You're right. I'm forgetting that part.
True.
Yeah.
But then it turns out like later that he's just like, oh, well, if you're going to break my plan, I will just kill you then. But that does make sense, but it doesn't continue throughout the character. It's more just so Batman can climb out of the pit in the world's cheesiest scene in history. It was so cheesy, I thought all the other prisoners were going to climb out after him, and he was going to lead some kind of army back to Gotham.
Somebody made a fair point. I was reading from message boards after the movie, and somebody said, why doesn't somebody just climb up the rope?
Well, he did throw down that rope afterwards.
Well, it's because the rope only goes up like halfway. The rope does actually stop at a point up there. I know.
Right.
I noticed that.
Well, there was that rope at the top of the pit that he threw down once he climbed out.
Yeah, he throws a rope
So
down.
theoretically,
as soon as
everybody
he
else
climbs,
could
as soon as
get
he
it.
climbs out. So it was kind of like, yeah, what is happening with all those guys? Because Batman's in there as an innocent victim. All these other guys
Right.
are like mass murderers, probably. I don't know. Batman just set loose some of the worst scum to run rampant across whatever country he was in.
Well, it doesn't sound like there's all the people that is that have been in there a long time, so it's not like they're in peak physical condition.
Yeah, they were kind of messed up.
Yeah.
It's not like they have any new initiatives all the time.
After he'd broken his back, twice more did like falling on that rope must have broken his back again each time, right?
That's what I thought.
That's what I was thinking. And then to win, he has to like burn the rope and throw it away. And I saw that kind of like, well, the first 2 times he's not going to make it, and then he's going to throw away the rope, and then he's going to make it. I called that entire sequence from the beginning. It was like, woo, Batman.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody else have anything they want to go into? I got to be running in a little bit, but if anybody has any closing statements you want to make?
Go see Batman.
Don't let us just constantly bring up like little tiny nitpicks that we had, because a lot of these are nitpicks. It's just that when you get so many nitpicks, they kind of like form into an actual complaint. Like I said, I probably gave it the harshest review out of anybody, and it was still like a 3.5. It was still, a B+. Really high.
My only real thing that I think really brings it down is the last moment. The fact that Bruce Wayne's like, everything apart from that is nitpicky. It's just like, Chris Nolan is still like, Chris Nolan, Michael Bay. You know the difference, and you are going to get a Chris Nolan film with this. It holds up to that standard. It's just not a classic.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, I have not seen Insomnia, but I have loved so much of Christopher Nolan's other things, and honestly, this, in my mind, might be my least favorite Christopher Nolan movie, but that is praising with false damning, if that is a term. Because
he has not Kevin Smith.
Yeah, he has not done a bad movie yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. His best movie...
This is no Zack and Miri make a porno.
Yeah, his worst movie is still better than 75% of all other films to come out at worst. Yeah.
Okay, wait, before he has to go, important question. Everyone has to compare it to the Avengers. Go.
Bane had an army, but the Avengers had a Hulk. I'm going with the Avengers on this one.
Like, are we talking just characters or just like overall?
We're just talking overall movie. Because I gotta admit, I really love the Avengers more, and the reason why is because because to me, cinema recently has decided that, the way to become good is just become darker. In fact, like Green Lantern tanked, and so they said, we are doing a second one, and the second one is going to be a lot darker, as if that was what was wrong with it. So, I absolutely, the Avengers was such a breath of fresh air to me to show that, no, we can be really upbeat, we can be really fun, and we can also be really positive, and still be insanely good. So,
well, they also say the line, like Coulson says, sometimes people need a little bit of old-fashioned.
Yeah, people need a little bit old-fashioned, and also Nick Fury. I still believe in heroes. It's, that's...
And also, they go dark. Like, Loki is an insane villain.
He's so good.
He is dark. It's like
Loki
that scene with him in the cage.
Of the summer, yeah.
Yeah, he was better than Bane. I think Avengers was better. It had a better third act, with like nothing in the Dark Knight, even how in Dark Knight Rises, even how great the last act was, compares to that one shot of the Avengers where you see all of them fighting at the same time, which is capped off by the best joke of the year, which is Thor getting hit by the Hulk.
Yes.
Oh, that is...
Yes.
Yeah, that is the thing about that third act. Like I said, I can't really give this, I couldn't really go that high on this one because for me, in order to go from A to A+, I gotta have that one scene, that one thing that just makes me go, that just really hits me, and I really, really love that final shot of the machines activating around Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But in Avengers, I was watching and going, oh man, they're fighting the aliens now, and I have really enjoyed every bit of this, but I still can't give it an A+, because I just haven't had that moment yet. And then, Mark Ruffalo goes, I'm always angry. And then that was it. That was my moment. That was the great moment.
Yeah.
And then they stop and look at me and go, oh, you thought that was the moment. No. We got 5 more moments coming up right after this.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like with the Avengers, it's a great team movie. It's a great summer action flick, but it's still got a good story with characters. The Dark Knight Rises, for me, it's part of it's part of the trilogy. It's got that deeper, darker drama to it, and that's what it's centered on. It's centered on the drama and the beginning, the rise, the fall, the fall and the rise of Batman, Bruce Wayne, and other characters. they're both good movies on their own accord. I don't know if he can necessarily, like, for me, I can't compare, like, oh, I like one more than the other. I think they're kind of both equal for me anyways.
Yeah, if I had to kind of compare them, I would say Avengers is the best comic book movie we've gotten. The Dark Knight trilogy is the best comic book film we've gotten, if that makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think the thing about Avengers and the Dark Knight thing, Avengers is all text. There isn't subtext there. It is the best text it can be without any depth, like because it doesn't need it. It's all about what you are seeing right there. Whereas the Dark Knight Rises has a heck of subtext with all the Occupy Wall Street stuff and Nolan's politics and stuff, and there is more there, but it can be argued that the actual surface level isn't as instantly entertaining.
I'd agree with that on that. I would say that there are some layers to the Avengers, though, because, like, I didn't even...
Oh, yeah, there's
because, I mean, like, there's that moment where Loki and Thor face off, and I didn't even realize it the first time I saw it, but all of a sudden I realized it, like, the next time I saw it. They say to each other the exact same thing that Loki's father said to Odin right before they clash in Thor.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, Josh Whedon watched all those films and went, I'm going to make sure that this is all in here. So, I mean, there's
also
layers,
things
but
like,
once again, it's all enjoyable on the first layer level.
Yeah, there's also the bit of, like, there will always be men like you and
that was a good one.
But there's nowhere near as much as in these films.
Yeah. Although I do just want to run out and see the Avengers again right now after talking about that.
Same right now. Let's do this.
Can somebody do a fan edit that just shows Bane doing that big speech in front of Blackgate, and then the Hulk just comes in, grabs him, and smacks him around? Puny mash, man.
I am giving Gotham back to the people. Poof, 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 poof. Poof, 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 poof. Puny Bane.
I think that's a good line to go out on. I want to thank all my guests for coming in. Anybody have anything they want to plug? Any personal websites, Twitter accounts, anything like that?
I've got them, but whatever. It's a bit shit. No one cares.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, this was easily the best panel I've ever had on this show. This was fantastic.
You should do this more.
We really should. All right. Tell you what, I'm going to work out with you guys to get this done again.
All right.
And I'm going to try and record a little bit more to this on Monday with Jack Anderson, who wants to come in, and I'm also going to talk with him about the Box Office Winners League. So if any of you guys are available then, feel free to come back. I'll let you know what time we're doing that. But
I should come back because I got to lay some SmackDown.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
What?
He's in the lead on the Box Office Winners League, which
I haven't gotten.
Okay.
6 points.
I'll just say this. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I used to do this for a living. Do research to predict how much money a movie would make in opening weekend, and I've got 0 points. This is sad.
I want at least 1 point this week. 1 point. That's all I care about.
Yes.
I think the important word here, obviously, is used.
Used to. There's a reason I'm not there anymore. Yeah. I swear to God, I thought John Carter was going to be big. I don't know what I'm doing.
Wait. How far in advance did you think John Carter was going to be big?
Oh, never. That was a joke.
Okay,
that was a joke.
Oh, thank God for
No. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you're scared.
No. But yeah, okay. Well, thanks for everybody for tuning in. This was so much fun. I'm Aaron.
I'm Batman.
I'm Dustin.
I'm Mike.
I'm the Doctor.
Run.
Nice.
Greatest cast ever.
See you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.